And welcome to the program. It is draft day on this Thursday, the final Thursday in the month of April. Can you believe we're moving on to May here next week? Welcome to the program. A lot to do today. Who will be the first player taken? That is still being discussed. And we'll have plenty for that on that later for you. Let's get right to the headlines. And we have been talking about it all week long. Jeremy Pruitt calling out the fans. Well, Philip Fulmer, his boss, his benefactor, the man who hired him, went on a radio show today and said, you know what? Fine by me, on the Chuck Oliver Show.
I certainly, feel his passion, and that's what we hired. And I think he understands, and everybody should understand, to get this turned back where we need it to be turned to. We need everybody. We need, and he knows that. He can't do it by himself. And it's going to take us all to get back to where we want to be. And I just know how passionate he is about doing it, and I appreciate that part of it.
Okay, I'm not really exactly sure if that was a full endorsement or the fact that we need a lot of help. We need everyone to row the boat and to get on board. It takes a village, after all. Brick by brick. Moving on to other headlines on this Thursday. 3 reasons the SEC is the best producer of football talent in the world. Let's go over some of them. Football is a higher priority in the South than anywhere else. There's more prep talent in this region. More resources are invested into football. And, of course, it just means more. Alabama LSU lead the way in players drafted. This is over a, 10 years? No, excuse me, since 2013. Hasn't helped LSU on the field as much as Alabama. LSU's had a lot of early entries. We'll see if that changes tonight. Certainly Alabama looking strong this evening in Dallas. Darius Geis, a year ago, was a Heisman Trophy leader and easy number 1 draft choice. Today, we're not sure. He might be the safest running back pick in the draft, but he's also an early entrant, and in no way will he be among the first taken. These are the most early entrants in recent years. LSU clearly leads the parade, followed by Florida, Ohio State, also in the running. We welcome you back to the program, and it's going to be an interesting day. We'll keep you updated throughout as we monitor the events currently going on in Dallas. We're about 5 hours from Roger Goodell coming out and making the first pick for the Cleveland Browns. Who will it be? 855-242-7285. That is the number. What's on tap for our program? Alex Marvez from the Sporting News. Andy Staples. Jacob Heester knows about the draft. We'll ask him about the LSU situation as well. And who knows who else may drop by. We always like to start with our good buddy Ron in Frankfort, Kentucky. Ron, a very pleasant Thursday afternoon to you.
Thank you, Paul. I tell you, when you got health problems, tuning into your program is a good way to uplift your life.
Well, thank you very much, Ron. Always a pleasure to hear from you.
Have you followed it to any extent at all, the HBO documentary on Paterno?
I must admit, I have it recorded and have not watched it. This is the one with Al Pacino, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Oh, man. I believe Al Pacino, Paul, gives the most dead-on performance of Paterno that I have ever seen in my life. If you close your eyes, you would swear it was him. And if you didn't close your eyes, you would still believe it. I believe it's the best acting performance that I have ever seen in my life.
Well, that's amazing because, to say the least, Al Pacino has had a couple of pretty good roles.
Well, this one is remarkable, and I would encourage you, when you got a little bit, to watch that program.
No, I will. I have it recorded. I will try to get to it quickly. I appreciate that recommendation.
Thank you, Paul. Good luck to you.
Ron, best wishes to you. We're thinking of you, my friend. Always are. Speed is up next in Tampa. Welcome to the show. Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul, thanks for welcoming me to the show and letting me on.
Thank you.
Now, I'm an ACC guy, and I'm a Florida State fan. And I know you were talking about Alabama and LSU, but let's be realistic. You know, this is cyclical. You said since 2013. Before that, Florida State and Miami, really the ACC, had some of the, most drafted players before that. So, we have to keep that in mind, And what are your thoughts
and by
on
the
that?
way, Speed, why do I care about that? Explain that to me.
Because we still play. Florida State plays SEC teams.
Hey, Speed. Florida State was lucky to have a winning record last year. Don't give me that garbage, okay?
Well, come on. Now,
don't come on me, man. We keep it real here. We're not in the ACC, I don't really care what Florida State did years ago. I care about what they're doing today. Got it?
Paul, you just started the show. Hey, I capiche, but hey, no need to get rowdy.
Well,
I got you, my friend.
They've had 6 players drafted the last 2 years. They're irrelevant, okay? Let's try another call. Donnie is up next in Tennessee. How are you, Donnie?
Doing good, Paul. If you'll give me more than the usual 30 seconds, I'll make the top 10 callers that y'all had on yesterday.
Oh, no, okay. Hold on a second. Another unhappy customer here before we even pull the shades up on the storefront. So you're saying I don't give you much of a chance, but you are saying if I gave you time, you would be a top 10 caller. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to sit back, kick my feet up. It's all yours, Donnie. I'm not going to say another word.
Right. I called several times during the Tennessee coaching search. I was one, if you'll remember, that was wanting Les Miles or and the other guy, I forgot.
Let me go to the other room, see if anybody thinks this guy's on his way to being a top 10 caller.
Washington said, hold on, give me a chance here. But now, I believe Pruitt, I'm going to give him a shot. I like what he's doing. And, he told the truth about
pause right there for 1 second, okay?
Okay.
You've been on 57 seconds.
Really? Okay, all right, I'm going to hurry.
No reason to hurry. I'm just trying to think of when you're actually going to get to a point.
The point is that he was right to for Tennessee fans. We started this down this road 10, 11 years ago whenever we fired Philip Fulmer. And Bobby was on there about 5 or 6 minutes yesterday and can't even understand him. But anyway, let me finish my point here. Let me
finish my point. How about making it before you finish it?
I made it. I'm going to give Pruitt a chance. And another thing I'm going to talk to you about, Joel Klatt and Colin Cowherd being sycophants for the Pac-12. All they can study is Sam Darnold and all of that, and how they got to be where they're at is beyond me.
Thanks for the call. Joe is up next. Joe, you may be right. You may be a top 10 caller after the first couple today.
Oh, I know dang well I am, and that boy is a dummy that just got done talking.
Takes one to know one.
Who said that?
Who said that?
It don't take an idiot to know an idiot.
Was that John Hayes?
Now, John, come on now. You know I'm a top 10, but I got a message for Squirrel, and which I'm going to call him Chipmunk from now on, and Dummy Darrell, because they jumped on me at Twitter laughing that I wasn't in there, that I didn't make the top 15, and I don't remember seeing them dummies on the list either. The only list they would make is Idiot of the Year, and then they would tie for first place. And, Dummy Darrell, he needs to just shut up and quit laughing, because he's laughing at me for not making. He said, y'all laughed at me. It was so funny because y'all said I wouldn't make the top 15. He wouldn't make the top 50,000 in my book.
Okay, Joe, we're running you two. We have no patience today, so if you don't get to a point in the first 50 or 60 seconds, we're just going to have to say, see you later.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la, aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Here we go. Blair, he's in Maine. How are you, Blair?
Oh, I'm doing great, Paul. How about you? This
Are
is
you
like
are
the
you
best show ever,
are you
every
planning
day.
on watching the draft tonight?
I am, but I don't get why Sam Darnold has to go to one crappy team after another. You know, he's a better quarterback than you got to give him credit for. Nobody gives him credit for how good of a quarterback he really is. And
Hey, Blair, we watched Sam Darnold throw up all over the football field last year. What are you talking about?
I watched him in high school.
Blair, I don't care about high school. I mean, come on. There's got to be a new rule on this show. You can't talk about what somebody did in high school when they're about to be drafted in the NFL. I don't care about that.
Paul, I get you there. Okay, I will not bring that up again. But okay, so what he
Sam
showed
Darnold
at
had
USC,
a terrible junior year, whatever it was.
Yeah, what he showed at USC was not good enough for the pros.
So why are you calling in here talking about how great he is when he was terrible last year?
Yeah, he was terrible at USC. Yes,
hold on a second, Blair.
He didn't show what he needed to show
hold on
for
a
the
second.
pros.
He was terrible at USC. So where was he good?
He wasn't good enough to.
So then
make
why
it
did
higher
you?
to
Then
go
why
like
did
to
you
the-
call? Then Blair, explain.
Okay, so where would he go if he was better?
Blair, you're the one that called up and talked about how good he is. Okay, not me.
I did. Yes, I would like to see if he would go to a better team, but there's not a way that he would because you guys are saying he's not good. I thought he throws decently,
Blair,
but
let me ask you a
games where
question.
he's really bad.
Blair, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where's your mom?
She's not here right now, but I'm trying to make a conversation with you, Paul, to say that I literally seen Sam Darnold play football, watching him on TV, and then I watched him in high school, and he literally could show in the NFL that he's literally better what people are saying.
No, Blair, I want to diagram what you just got through saying, okay?
Okay, well, whatever, because I think he's a better quarterback than people are saying
Hey, Blair,
he is.
slow down a second, bud. You just got through saying that he was really good in high school, but he wasn't that good his final year in college. So why would that qualify him in the NFL draft? Explain, please.
That would not qualify him.
What are you talking about, Blair?
Well, okay, so he's not. Where do you think he's going to go? Can I ask you this? You think he's going to go to the Browns,
he's going to go in the first 6 or 7 picks. I don't know where he's going.
Miami team, which is Miami.
Blair, slow down. Quit talking for a second, okay?
Yeah, I just want to know where you think he's going to go.
He will go very high.
He's going to go to Cleveland, or he's going to go to New York, or he's going to go to the Giants. That's where I'm hearing. Now, if he goes to Cleveland the first pick, I'm like, that's like the worst team you could ever go to. They have not won a Super Bowl in, however, a long time. How about
never?
Won a Super Bowl in a long time.
What is the deal tonight with the calls? Why is every caller screaming and talking about something that doesn't make? I mean, can we get a good caller on here? Calling all good callers. Michael is in Texas, and you are next up.
Thank you, Mr. Finebaum. I humbly appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking my call.
I think we got the good caller here.
And your producers are in their control room, the switchboards. Thank you for also taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's at no point or no time towards you, Mr. Finebaum, or your producers or any of your guests that anybody should use swear words, profanities, or anything like that. That is immature and irresponsible. Look, and I'll be honest, I'm not an SEC man or a fan. I'm a University of Houston man, and before I went there, I spent 12 years in the United States Navy as a hospital corpsman. Yesterday, I don't know if you got them or not, I sent 3 emails to your show because I tried to call in the Will Cain show, and the guy, when I told him what I want to talk about, because he brought up an article in the New York Times about Colin Kaepernick, and I wanted to say, look, I know Nate Boyd had been on ESPN and some other networks, but he's one of the very lucky veterans who don't have major disabilities. I just lost a leg and a foot and a few fingers. I consider myself lucky. I put my stuff on every day. I work out. I run. I do what I can. I'm a restorative therapist now. But if everybody at every network would just spend 2 days out of the year go to a VA hospital, and then go to a military hospital. I don't mean Walter Reed or the Navy Medical Center.
Hey, Michael, allow me to ask you one question here.
But let me talk about the sport.
No, I need to understand. Hold on a second. Everything you said is very compelling. I'm just trying to understand the point of reference. What has happened lately or on the radio that has compelled you to make this statement?
Yesterday on Will Cain's show,
okay.
He was talking about Colin Kaepernick, that the New York Times article, they had written an article about him being blackballing, and also with the leaking of the meeting
with the New York
NFL
Times
meeting.
story, yeah. Okay, well, listen, I must admit, I've never heard the Will Cain show, so I don't know what he talks about.
Sometimes I don't either. Don't tell him I said that because he's from Texas. I mean,
I probably won't. There's probably not much chance I'll be talking to him anytime soon. But go ahead.
But he was discussing about how it leaked out that the NFL owners were more worried about their pocketbook and about how divisive Trump's comments were, and also about the kneeling and how we can bring an end to this, and because
so essentially, Will Cain, who's a talk show host at ESPN, was using the leaked minutes or recording of the NFL meeting, and he was attacking President Trump. Is that what you're saying?
No, sir. Negative. That is not a.
Well, tell me what he said then, since I didn't hear the show, and apparently no one else that I know did either.
Okay, I'm so sorry, sir. I beg your pardon. I did not mean to. I apologize, and I'm not trying to put words into Will.
Oh, by the way, why don't you just stop right there, because I'm not really sure it's doing anyone any good to continue on a conversation that only you understand.
Okay. I apologize. Let me get back to the crux of this position. So he was talking about how the owners were more worried about their pocketbooks, and then also discussing how with the kneeling and everything, how they were more concerned. Let's try to bring an end to this so we can get fans to come back and watch sports and come to the stadium, and not really address the main issue. And that why is it offensive to veterans? No one ever talks about that. Everyone just assumes that it's okay. They're representing their First Amendment. And then when someone like me speaks up, we're told we're not representing our First Amendment, and that we don't have that right to feel offended. But that's not the main reason why I called. The main reason why I called in is that regards to the I don't mean to change subjects here because I'll get off of it, is about regards to the draft. And what Cleveland needs to do is that, first of all, they've covered all three phases of football really good. Stink, stank, and stunk. So what they need to do is draft two quarterbacks. Use that fourth pick to take another quarterback. They know so many teams want a quarterback. So what they need to do is take that fourth pick, do one or two things with it. Either have two quarterbacks, let them compete, and be lucky with that and say, look, we're going to have some competition here. We're bound to have one of these guys come through because we have yucked it up with picking quarterbacks. Or use that fourth pick, take one of the other quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Baker, Josh Rose, whomever, and take that as the fourth pick if they take Sam Darnold number one. Use that fourth pick to take one of those other quarterbacks. Use it as trade bait to get garner more picks for this year and next year and maybe the year after that for draft picks to stock up and try to build around whomever they think would be the better quarterback to begin with, or use that number one pick. And that's just me. And to all the SEC haters out there, I'm a University of Houston man, and I was in the Navy. So my allegiance is to the American Athletic Conference. But do you know what conference, and more importantly, what school has had more Hall of Fame and more Super Bowl winning quarterbacks? I hate to break the news to all the haters out there, but it's Roll Tide, Alabama. And I'm not an Alabama fan, but I know that.
Listen, Mike, I hate to interrupt. Thanks for the call. I was wrong about that prediction. 855-242-7285. Glad you're back with us. It is Thursday draft day on the program. More phone calls coming up. Sporting news, NFL failure to NFL factory. How Nick Saban created football's best assembly line. The author of this, well-known talk show host, Alec Marvez, and writer. Alec, thank you for the time. Certainly, Saban, first year at Alabama, they did not have a player taken. That was from the previous administration. But since then, Nick Saban has owned draft night, has he not?
Yeah, off and running. Listen, and it's quantity and quality, right? I mean, that's the thing about it that's been so remarkable. 44 players under his tenure were on NFL rosters when the off-season workouts programmed earlier this month, and we were talking guys from the Saban regime. That is as much as any team. Actually, it's less than some teams in the NFL, but when it comes to the ones that he coached, like, for example, the University of Miami has more, but they've had multiple head coaches. LSU, the same thing. Believe it or not, Miami, 52 players on active rosters in the NFL level at the start of the offseason programs earlier this month. LSU with 49, Florida State and Florida 46, Florida State 45, USC 44. But when it comes to those players actually coached by someone, it is Nick Saban with the most, 22 first-round picks. And, you know, you're looking tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, Paul, with a likelihood of 11 Alabama players being drafted. It would set the school record of 10, or break the school record of 10 set last year. I mean, yeah, Nick Saban's got it going down in Alabama, not only when it comes to winning national championships, but also producing in the NFL.
And Alex, I was speaking to a prominent coach the other night at an event, and he said not only does Saban get the 5 stars, it's the way he evaluates and gets the right players. I want to get into that because the NFL GMs, they don't care what you were in high school. They care what you are now, right?
Yeah, and what they have a template. I was talking to Phil Savage about this, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, and also someone who is, you know, a color analyst on the Crimson Tide Radio Network. And Paul, he said, look, if you're not of a certain size, a certain speed, you know, and they're not going to go for you, a certain height when it comes to certain positions. They want all of their players to be of a certain build, so to speak. And, you know, like, for example, LaMarcus Joyner was a player that, you know, they had interest in but ultimately cooled off on. He played at Florida State. He's done a very good job for them there. And obviously now with the Los Angeles Rams, he's their franchise player. But he was short. You know, he was too small for them to play safety. He's about 5'10", 5'11", and they just didn't want a player of that height at that position. They were looking for something a little bit different. His methods didn't match. And, in fact, Joyner may even be a little bit smaller than that. So, you know, that's the thing about it. Look, you could always have someone that breaks the mold, but in all likelihood, it's going to be someone who's walked on at Alabama. It's like what Phil told me. When you see these guys come out of the locker room, look at the position groups warming up. All the offensive linemen look the same. All the defensive linemen have a particular body type. And it makes it easier for recruiting when you know specifically what you're looking for. You know, it's not like you have guys coming back and saying, okay, we've offered a 5'9" corner and a 6'2" corner. No, Nick knows exactly what it is that he wants to get. He tells his recruiting folks, his coaches, to go get them, and then he seals the deal himself when he comes in and charms you to sign with his team if he wants you bad enough.
Yeah, certainly he's done this for a long time. He has quite a pedigree being in the NFL under Belichick, as a head coach in Miami, as we both know. But in digging in pretty deep over these last 10 years, what else have you discovered? What reasons to believe or have geared or led Nick Saban to such success on draft night?
Well, I think, too, that, you know, look, they're pro-style coaches, right? And when you go to Alabama, and I talked with Anthony Averett about this, the cornerback, Minkah Fitzpatrick, the same thing, the safety who's probably going to be a top 6 pick tonight. I mean, look, they know that they're coaching. It's not only Nick, who's a, you know, guy with a pro pedigree, but as you know, Paul, so many of the assistants. And it's interesting, this year, there's not a lot of NFL pedigree on this Alabama staff because some guys have left, but so many of these guys have coached in the league. They know what it is that they're looking for. The competition level, too. I mean, Paul, it's amazing. You know, guys know, look, if I'm not playing well, there's a 5-star recruit waiting on the bench to take my job. I mean, it really raises the bar, everybody there. So you have those two things that work with it. I mean, I just think that's an incredible thing, and Nick is so hands-on as well. And what he's done, too, is he's built a real structure, right? I mean, the players there, their strength program, probably second to none. And, you know, they make sure that what you're doing is they give you every tool that you can to graduate, to try to learn football, and to be immersed in a strength program that's going to get you ready to play in the league. Does everyone take advantage of it? I can't account for the Reuben Fosters, the Trent Richards of the world, guys who went astray, right? But that's on them. It wasn't like Nick and the Alabama program didn't give them the tools to have success in the league if they just did things the right way. Instead, neither did, Reuben Foster's facing 11 years in prison for, felony charges of domestic violence, and Trent Richardson can't get a sniff in the NFL. I mean, but these are guys, again, that did that largely to themselves.
Alex, if you had to point to one thing in Saban's leading to Saban's success on draft night, I know we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about evaluation. We've talked about the program, and it's not just his process. It's an overall strength and conditioning. It's psychological training. It's leadership. What do you think it would be?
Oh, man. You know what? These kids come in physically ready to play. I really think that's number one. I mean, you're not going to have to wait. Now, that being said, they've gotten a little bit luckier in recent years. The injury rate is down. Paul, as you know, guys were coming in from Alabama so battered and so bruised. And, I think some of that's, the way that they practice. But let's not forget the Crimson Tide plays what's essentially an NFL schedule as far as number of games often. Right? You're looking at 14, 15 college games in a season sometimes, depending upon if they get to the FBS and how far they advance in it. I mean, it's crazy. So, I think that's one thing right there that really impresses NFL teams. These guys are ready to play. And really a lot of it is from all the different things that you stressed. It's like a mini pro program at Alabama. And I really think it's the best one that's been set up because of stability. And listen, with Nick, he doesn't treat everyone equal, Paul, as you know. You know what I mean? It's weird. Sometimes, the kids that are maybe the biggest ones that may be ready to run astray or have issues off the field, Nick may take more interest in them than others who are doing things right simply because he realizes maybe I can be an influence and help push them in the right direction. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Getting beyond Saban as we close up here, Alex, is there another coach, and there are obviously many, many good ones, who at least would be in the same universe with Nick Saban just in terms of building programs and setting the NFL up with his players?
Well, I think Jimbo Fisher, a Saban disciple, right? I mean, you look at the success he had at Florida State for so long and hoping to duplicate that at Texas A&M. Some schools also, they're known for certain positions, the way that it's coached. Notre Dame, for example, under Harry Heester, they did a real nice job producing offensive linemen. I was talking to Zach Martin about this last night. He doesn't think, the Cowboys guard who played at Notre Dame, he doesn't think, for example, that Quentin Nelson gets beyond number 8 with the Chicago Bears now that Harry is coaching there. So, but then you run into this problem. Just because a player goes to a school doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be great in the NFL just because they have that pedigree, and vice versa. Just because a school may have struggled to produce, quality players at a certain position, like for so long, Penn State running backs were regarded as busts in the NFL because of Blair Thomas and Kajana Carter and players like this that came out. But, are you going to blame Saquon Barkley and say, okay, well, we're taking him off our board because other Penn State guys weren't too good? So, I mean, listen, I think, too, that there's something to be said for Jim Harbaugh up in Michigan because of the way that he has built his program up there. Pro-style coach, pro-style offenses. These things are good, and it's just so difficult sometimes, Paul, for NFL teams. And we see it at the wide receiver position. Look what's gone on the past 4 or 5 years. I believe in the past 4 years we've had 13 receivers taken in the first round, according to Sports Illustrated. 1 has reached a Pro Bowl. 9 of them have failed to produce at least 40 catches in a season. I mean, guys are really struggling when they come from some of these spread systems where they're not learning playbooks. They're not even running real routes. They're just getting open because of the way that the play unfolds, just basically through athleticism. So it's been a headache for NFL teams. They're having to adjust the way that they do their business. But some of that is you're going to see a trickle-down effect on that tonight as well, where it's going to be Calvin Ridley or DJ Moore. Most likely one of those two is going to be the first receiver taken. But, Paul, we may have the first draft where there isn't a wide receiver taken in round 1 since 2008. It is a very viable option.
Before you go, Alex, I know there's been a lot of smoke out there today, as there always is the morning of draft day. Often by 8 o'clock it changes. Who will go first to the Browns?
I got to think it's going to be Sam Darnold or Josh Allen, even with Josh Allen now and then finding these tweets that were racially insensitive back from when he was in high school. And, he's apologizing like crazy for that through his agents, who, by the way, are the same agents of Nick Saban, but it's a very small world, as you know, behind the scenes there. Yes, to get fine folks at CAA. But,
sure.
I mean, Baker Mayfield, I guess, but if you get Baker Mayfield, what you're going to get is a guy who's going to speak off the cuff, okay, who's going to, I think, live his life in the way that he wants to live it, rather than maybe, being a little bit judicious in the way that his appearance are out when it comes to drinking alcohol, things like this. He's already had an alcohol-related arrest. You just wonder how he's going to handle the trappings of NFL stardom that are going to come with him immediately. And from my time around Baker and, being around him at some various college events this off season, you just get the feeling that, youth is wasted on the young sometimes, that this is someone who thinks that they know everything and doesn't really seem all that willing to listen to outside stuff or do things in the conventional way. Let's not forget, Paul, he's the one that told the Los Angeles Chargers that, I didn't really have time to study those plays that you gave me for your playbook. I've got too many other things on my plate. In other words, he's saying, well, you're not probably going to draft me right now, so what's the point? Why should I even bother wasting my time looking at your playbook when we meet? On the flip side, you got Saquon Barkley, who tells me, you know what, I'll meet with any team. You just got to give me 4 hours to work out when I visit, but I'm going to meet with you, and I'm willing to meet with you, and I want to meet with you. You know why? Because maybe you're the head coach of a team in the future that I'll be at or has interest in acquiring me. You know, he doesn't see it short-sighted. You see what I mean? Like, he knows there's so much movement in this league. Who knows? Maybe his next head coach 2 years into the NFL is someone that he interviews with during this pre-draft process that doesn't select him. So I just think that it's, you know, Saquon is much more NFL ready from a maturity standpoint. We'll see what happens with Baker. I hope he has success. He was a lot of fun to watch at Oklahoma. But, again, I just – those bells and whistles just to me, I just, again, it's Cleveland, so, you know, they're known for doing this sort of thing. But we'll see if the John Dorsey regime changes and if they end up with a safer guy in Sam Darnold. Josh Allen, a lot of concerns about the accuracy. I think that's where we're at with him. And Josh Rosen, I don't get all the knocks on him except from an injury standpoint, to be quite honest with you. I mean, he was, had a little bit of a concussion history, and, of course, you don't want that in a quarterback. But other than that, if people think he's too smart for the league or he'll be, someone who's willing to debate outside interests, well, I don't see that as a huge negative. Maybe it's being played up in the media that way, but I don't know if that's the thing that's going to prevent an NFL team, from drafting him. Great stuff, Alex Marvez. Many, many thanks. Pleasure to visit with you, Alex. For you, it's an honor. This is an SEC show. I'm an SEC guy. I'm waiting for my Gators to come back. Give me some good luck here, man. We need it. We need everything we can get. Maybe not this year, but it's coming, Alex. I promise you. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you, brother. Be great good, stuff. What a great interview that was. Alex Marvez joining us from the Sporting News. He does a show for Sirius XM as well. We finally got a good call. We had to call them, but we got one. Back to the program, 855-242-7285. Larry is up next in Missouri. Good afternoon. Hey, Mr. Finebaum, how you getting along today? Okay, Larry. Hey, great. I tell you what, I hate to see y'all keep struggling with that first batch of callers. I mean, I was scared. I had to call in. I was scared Bam and Nick and Matt from Gainesville just going to make me turn the TV off. They called in next. But let me give these people a good piece of advice. I mean, if you ain't got nothing to say, don't call in. I mean, this is especially to Matt from Gainesville. I mean, it's like that old saying is, we already think you're ignorant. Now, there's no use start talking and remove all doubt. I mean, the only thing that Herschel Walker's all 12 of his personalities can agree on is Matt is dull as hell. Now, as far as Darryl yesterday, you talk about jealousy. He's jealous of Bama. He's jealous of other callers. I mean, he started that call off like freaking Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and about midway through, he was morphed into RuPaul. And by the time he was done, he had a 36 double D rack. I mean, that was pitiful. The last thing I'll say, today top 10, tomorrow the world. Thanks, Paul. Boom. Jim is up next. Jim calling from Utah. Welcome to the program, Jim.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Nice hooking up with you. Thank you. When I got out of the Corps in about 57, Coach Bryant came over to Tuscaloosa about the same time. I was thinking about all these Tennessee guys and all their moaning and complaining and everything about Coach Pruitt. They should have been there to hear Coach Bryant when Namath was originally, we had I can't remember which year it was, about 60, 61, we came out and beat the tar out of somebody. And the following week, we played Tulane then, and won 10-0, I think it was. And Coach Bryant came on his show and he said, you know what? If you fans are just going to come out and complain all the time, then stay at home. We don't need you. This team does not need gripers. It doesn't need complainers. We want supporters. Now, I do want you to buy tickets to the game because the university needs your money. But the rest of you just stay home. We don't need you. We can win without you. You're not on the field anyway. And so I don't think Coach Pruitt really started this off. He just happened to listen to Coach Bryant there. What do you reckon? Well, I mean, Jim, I tend to agree overall with you, and I do remember reading about what Coach Bryant said. He could get away with that, though. He had stature. I think the issue here is that Pruitt really doesn't quite have the stature. This is his first coaching job. He was about the 7th choice, and calling out fans is not a good look. And I know what Fulmer said today, but Fulmer was basically supporting his overall approach, not specifically what he said there. Let's continue with more phone calls.
and Nick is in Florida. Nick?
Hey, Paul, how are you doing today?
Well, Nick.
Good. Hey, listen, I want to bury the hatchet, man. You know, we've had a couple rough calls. I'm going to just try and make up for these guys that don't know what they're talking about. Let's just, real quick, if you have a second, I want to say hi to Matt and Kubiak over there. Listen, you guys are right. I need to come tougher with my smack talk. And I've taken that into my heart, and I've considered it very much, and you're right. You're right. And I'm going to work on that. Okay? I just wanted to call the Alabama fans and let them know, congratulations, you're probably going to have 6 first-round picks in this year's NFL draft. At least 5. So that's big. So much respect to you. Much respect.
Thanks, Nick. You were much better when you were talking smack talk. Is this a confessional today? Is it like a little black door here? And I've got a shawl over my head. Anyway, we'll be right back. 3 more. And the second hour is live. Welcome to the program. Glad to have everyone here, and we have a lot to do. It's the day of the NFL draft. We still don't know who the first player will be taken in 4 hours. Speculation on Baker Mayfield, although one of our guests a minute ago said not quite so fast. So let's get to the calls at 855-242-7285. Matt, Gainesville, Georgia is up next.
Paul, if you keep having all these bad callers, they may cancel you, and you may have to go to FS1. I mean, this has been the worst collection of callers, I think, in human history.
Well, you know, when you open the doors for everyone to come in, sometimes you're going to get a few unwashed folks.
I don't understand why these people from, like, the Big Ten, the American Athletic Conference, that guy he would still be babbling. And all these other conferences, there's a reason you're calling the SEC network. Your conference sucks. If they were that good, why don't they have their own network? I mean, if the ACC was so great, why didn't they launch a network? Why isn't the network launched yet? The Big Ten network is that's the worst now. I'd rather watch the Discovery Channel than the Big Ten network. I mean, I just can't believe. And Larry from, where was that guy, West Virginia? Tell him to take his backer out of his mouth before he makes fun of me. And Daryl, because Daryl and Larry, Shelby, and Legend, and all these people, you know, that's what helped makes this show. If we had to listen to him speaking while he spits his tobacco, I'd die. Or these Tennessee fans keep crying. What is the deal with the Tennessee fans? I mean, can we drag out this Jeremy Pruitt story any longer? I mean, the guy made an idiot remark. Y'all are going to see he's an idiot. And
hold on a second, Matt.
Yeah,
I agree with you that it's a non-event, it's a non-story, and even Philip Fulmer, he supposedly defended him, although I really didn't hear a specific defense. But why don't you believe Jeremy Pruitt is going to be successful in Knoxville?
Let me ask you a question.
I thought I'd just ask you one.
Well, I know. I'm going to tell you why. There was a reason he left Florida State. After what, 1 year, 2 years? Yeah. Then he left the University of Georgia after 1 year. Now he's leaving the University of Alabama.
Hey, Matt, I mean, you act like I'm trying to remember the timeline. Let's see. Didn't he leave Georgia after Mark Richt was fired?
He would have got fired.
Well, but he left because Kirby Smart took the job, and there was an opening at Alabama. I mean, quit trying to prop your school up.
Paul,
he had a better job.
Paul, you're wrong on that. He wanted the job at Georgia. Kirby wouldn't take him. He would not take him.
You know that. You know that for a fact. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Did you not tell me last week that I'm just not some smo off the spot?
Listen, I mean, I do not remember. I'm trying to remember it in my head. I mean, Kirby was going to bring over Mel Tucker. I do remember that.
And if you remember correctly, not only that, if Muschamp wouldn't have got the job at South Carolina, Muschamp was in Athens 2 days before he got the job in South Carolina.
Well, Matt, I mean, let's not get confusing here. I mean, here's the timeline. I do remember part of it. Kirby was about to be named the South Carolina head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And when Georgia discovered that,
Don Lieber.
Kirby.
Have you heard of that name?
Well, of course I know. I saw Don after dinner when I was in Atlanta for the national championship.
And Don said, we ain't going to let that happen.
Right, exactly. Smart move, by the way.
Yeah, and when that happened, they weren't talking to Muschamp yet. Muschamp was in Athens with Kirby because they're friends, obviously, and Muschamp would have been the defensive coordinator at Georgia if he didn't get the head coaching job at South Carolina. And not only that...
Well, yeah, no, by the way, I do remember that.
Not only that, I'm telling you, Pruitt
quit acting like Pruitt. I mean, Pruitt ended up at Alabama, so it doesn't matter whether
he asked to be. I'm just telling
Matt,
you.
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter whether he would have stayed or not. He ended up going to Alabama, and maybe there was a personality conflict. Maybe there was. I really have no idea, and I don't care. But your entire life is built around trying to tear down anyone who has been to Alabama or has left Alabama, and so far you're failing at that. Okay.
I'm not tearing him down, Paul. I'm just stating the facts.
Well, you don't know that
he
it's a
had
fact.
He had three jobs in 3 years, Paul.
Well, I know that.
That didn't happen for a reason. It just doesn't happen because...
Well, would you or would you not agree that his 2 years at Alabama were pretty impressive?
Paul.
He was part of a national championship at Florida State.
He was under God.
He was part of a national championship.
I could be the defense coordinator under Nick Saban and be successful.
No, you couldn't.
I mean, let's give the man his due. Nick Saban is the man.
You wouldn't have any earthly idea what you're doing. Would you get on to another point?
Nick Saban is the man, though. I mean, Nick Saban, I mean, there's a reason Nick Saban takes these rehabs.
By the way, the question I asked was, why do you think Jeremy Pruitt will be a failure? And you've gone off on some manifesto.
His temperament. I mean, honestly, and I think you saw that when he made the bonehead remark he made at the fans. I'm telling you, I just don't think you can. I'm telling you, I think he's got some issues with his temperament. Ask Kevin Butler. Ask the people in Athens.
Matt,
Paul,
listen.
He would have been fired.
Matt, first of all, if we're going to talk, you've got to take a breath now and then. I've tried to explain that to you.
I'm just telling you, Paul.
Matt, you ask a question, and before the other person, who happens to be a talk show host, can even come close to his first word, you're already answering it. You asked the question. Ask Kevin Butler. I was trying to explain. I had lunch with Kevin Butler a year ago, and he's a nice guy, but he's got nothing to do with this situation. I mean, you're just making stuff up as you go along, like you always do.
Kevin Butler has nothing to do with this situation.
No, he's not.
He's not a special kicking coach at University of Georgia.
He is not germane to the decision-making process that involves other people like Greg McGarity. Okay.
He's pretty involved, Paul.
Well, I don't think he's part of the. I don't think the kicking.
Butler,
I don't think the kicking coach is part of the administration. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
He would have got. I'm just telling you, if they knew they weren't going to get rid of Mark Richt, okay, if they were going to keep Mark Richt another year,
the question I asked you was, I don't give two rips about Kevin Butler. I don't care about any of this. I just want more. I want something.
Make a statement, Paul?
No, you cannot make a statement, Matt,
because you don't. I'll make a statement because you don't want to hear the truth.
Tell me the truth.
I'm just telling you. Let me tell you this, and I'll shut up.
Matt, you're drunk. Okay, let's go to somebody who's not drunk. Ed is up next in Connecticut.
Oh, thank you for letting me finish. Follow this guy.
Now, Ed, do me a favor. Turn the television down so we can actually hear you. Okay.
Okay. I am. There it is. Funny, nobody's asked me to do that in a long time. I am hard of hearing.
Nobody asked you to do what in a long time?
Turn down the TV.
Well, I mean, I can't hear myself talking to you.
Okay.
And then 10 minutes.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I haven't spoken to you in a while.
Great. Good to have you on. It's good to have a sane Georgia fan.
A sane Georgia fan, and I am dying to watch tonight because I think Sony is going to go early.
That's great.
And I also think that a middle linebacker will go pretty quickly. Chubb, I don't know. All of a sudden, everybody is knocking Chubb for his style. It seems to go pretty well at Georgia. Every once in a while, he gets thrown for a loss, but there are 3 or 4 guys hitting him at the same time. I have a feeling somebody's going to grab Chubb. I would not be sorry if the Giants did. But I'd rather they got Sony. I mean, realistically, if you watched the 2 last year, I kept saying there's something about Sony this year that hasn't been there before. He's passing Chubb. You know, he's. You know, I watched the Georgia spring game. I didn't get it the first day, but I was lucky enough to pick up an ESPN channel right away, covered it. I really don't think I saw anything that impressive. Fields is going to be great. But I think Fromm has an attitude. When you watch him play, he doesn't care about, I'm going to say doesn't care, wrong words. He doesn't seem to have anything phase him of fear. He just gets the job done. And he's a darn good passer. I mean, anybody that watched Georgia in some of the games could see him laying the ball on somebody's left shoulder, you know, just beautifully. He threw one Saturday that was absolutely beautiful. To Ridley. And I think Georgia's going to be fine. When I look at I haven't seen my manual yet, by the way. You know, it's a little early. But I've never had so much interest in a draft before. Except when, who did Georgia draft in?
Stafford?
No, not Stafford. The running back that really did well for them when they won the
Gurley?
first triple. Not Gurley.
Well, I mean, there's 100 players.
I mean,
we can't go through every Georgia player, and maybe no shot. Anyway, I'm not going to guess anymore. We're up against the break. Apologize for having to rush. We are going to come back with I'll go down every Georgia player ever drafted. No, not that one. Herschel Walker. No, not that one.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Anyway, welcome back to the program. Glad you're all here. Phone number is 855-242-7285, and Jeff is up next. Jeff, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Paul. First of all, it's probably the worst show I've ever heard, but that's okay. Maybe I can. I just want to tell you that my best friend growing up's father played for Coach Bryant in his first couple of years at Alabama. And I remember when you wrote some columns that weren't so nice about Nick Saban in his first season. And you never can tell.
Thanks, Jeff. You're really bringing the heat with this one.
What?
Hold on.
You're really livening the show up with this story about from 1966. Go on.
Who is this, Kubiak?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to say is I think Pruitt will do a fine job at Tennessee. And I know you're a Tennessee man, but anyway, I really don't have much more to offer than that, except to say that I enjoy your program, but not in April. Maybe we'll get back to some better callers.
Well, thank you, Jeff. We appreciate your contribution today. I mean, listen, one thing about this program, it's not like some shows. It is year-round, and we come in here every day, and I say this, Mark and John, you can back me up or not, and we try to put the best program on. Sometimes the program is dependent on guys like that last caller who want to criticize, but then make. Let me ask you, Mark and John, that guy's name was Jeff, right? Did he improve the show or worsen the show?
Well, look, if you have a problem with it, you want to come out and say it, fine. You know, if you want to say, look, I think Pruitt will do great. You just don't start with, boy, it's been a rough day with callers. Let me tell you about the time my dad played for Bear Bryant. How is that going to make anything better?
Well, I happen to like the off season, and the reason the reason I like the off season, it is unpredictable. During the season, every fan base has his or her favorite team, and they'll enable that team. This time of the year, it is a free for all, whether you like it or not. And by the way, the show is 1 hour and 20 minutes old. There's still another 3 hours and a little bit under 3 hours to go. So I'm not writing off a program. It has been. I would say the first 30 minutes was the most bizarre we've had here in a long time. Since then, it's been fairly predictable. We had Matt doing Matt-type things. Let's talk to Todd, who is in Kentucky. How are you, Todd?
Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Well, I was calling to. Some of these guys are angry, or I want to say passionate, but I think it's past passion, and they sound agitated when they call, Paul.
Yeah, and I think they've ended up making us agitated, and I've decided that we can't let that happen anymore because it has been a bar fight since 3 o'clock today.
I have to agree with you. Hey, I just called basically. I think old Jimbo will be just fine down there in College Station. I really do. I'm not a Jimbo or Florida State fan or alumni or anything, but I think he'll be all right. And is it Mark or John? That's the Notre Dame fan.
That would be Mark Kubiak. Mark, please take a bow.
My man Mark.
Yes.
I'm also a lifelong Notre Dame fan.
All right. Go on.
Is it not time to join a conference?
They'll join the ACC eventually.
I sure can't wait. Well, I'm going to get off there. I appreciate it, Paul. I'm going to keep on listening.
David, Todd from Kentucky, you were the best caller of the day since the first 5 minutes of the show. Don is up next in Alabama. Hello, Don.
Hey, how you doing, Paul? Good to hear you.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk a little bit about I'm an older Alabama fan, and this is going to be a little bit off the chain. I'm not going to talk about Jeremy Pruitt. I'm not going to talk about what Mr. Kirby's going to do at Georgia or whatever. I'm curious a little bit about some of the future SEC schedules, and I've talked to you about this before. You can say this is my hobby horse. When they're going to go to a 9-game schedule, and do you think?
Well, they're not going to, Don, and you know why?
Well, because those 4 Eastern Division teams don't want to play a tougher game.
They don't want they don't want everyone does. I mean, let's play some math here. 7th grade flashcards. If right now, if you're a middle of the pack SEC school with an 8-game schedule, you can go 3-5 in the league or 2-6. And still get to a bowl game, can't you?
Yeah, I guess you can, yeah.
Okay, you have a 9-game schedule, and you happen to draw the short straw if you're South Carolina or Kentucky or Vanderbilt, and you get Alabama, Auburn, or, let's say, Texas A&M, and suddenly you could go 2-7, and you may or may not get to a bowl game, depending on your non-conference. So I think it's all about that extra loss.
Yeah, well, you got a point there.
I can't think of another reason because Nick Saban brought this up about 7 or 8 years ago, and I think it makes enormous sense. And his argument was not only would it be more fair and equitable, right now you don't. I mean, I'm trying to think of the games. I mean, they're like the Georgia game next year for Alabama. When was the last time that Georgia and Alabama met in the regular season?
No. They're not playing Georgia next year. It's Missouri. I'm talking
about in 2019.
Okay, Georgia. They're playing Georgia in 2019. Okay, I have that scheduled for 20.
Hey, by the way, I could be wrong. I've been wrong a few times today.
Well, let me tell you
my only point is that Saban's point was very simply that there are you want if you're at Alabama for 4 or 5 years, especially 5, you would like to be able to see everyone. And right now, I realize Alabama's seen Georgia a couple of times, but I'm trying to think of some of the teams that Alabama hasn't seen.
I know you're about to go to break. Let me say this. Okay, as a fan, I don't want to see crap on the field. that's my point.
I don't either. I mean, you're an Alabama fan, Don. Are you happy about this year's schedule?
Not really. No, I don't. I want to see Chattanooga or Citadel.
No, nobody wants to see Citadel.
I generally throw that game out. My son and I want to go to LSU. As an older fan, I'm interested in being able to see some good games. I wanted to go to Georgia. That's not going to happen until I'm close to 80 years old. It looks like now. At Georgia, they're going to play Georgia at home next. But it's just I'm just I don't know. I want to see better product on the field if I'm going to pay the $400 and something for a set of season tickets that I pay. I'm at the low end. I pay the low end qualifying fee for Tide Pride. The big boys, they control the thing. I laud Mr. Saban for wanting to play the extra game, and I think some of these other guys need to get on board. Big Ten is already playing 9. I don't know. I think it's inevitable, but
by the way, next year's Alabama schedule is much better. Don, they have Duke. They have Duke, New Mexico State, Southern Miss, and Western Carolina. Glad to have Andy. I mean, really glad to have Andy Staples on this program. Andy wasn't scheduled. We called him. We got him out of the dentist chair because we needed him. Andy joining us from Sports Illustrated. Andy, thank you very much. I was with you the other day, and you were questioning me about a number of subjects. I can't wait to get after you.
I figured. I knew once the tables got turned, they would be turned back relatively quickly.
Well, I think the questions will be pretty much the same. So
That's right.
Let's start with Jalen Hurts. It just seems like this story gets worse by the day, even though nothing is really happening. Maybe we're listening to too much noise, but give us your take on where you see that going.
Well, it seems like everybody else is kind of coming to where I was 2 days after the national title game, that they're going to probably have an idea of who the starting quarterback at Alabama is a week or two out from the season opener, and if it's not Jalen Hurts, there's a real good chance he's going to transfer. There's plenty of places he could go. It's a unique situation because he hasn't redshirted yet. So, yes, he could graduate after this season and play immediately in 2019, or he could sit this season somewhere else and play 2019 and 2020. So, if he wants to be an NFL quarterback and wants to develop as a quarterback, well, I would think you'd want 2 years as a starting quarterback, and there will be teams that will be interested. I don't know exactly who it would be, but if I had to guess, I'd say, Texas, TCU, Baylor, West Virginia. A lot of Big 12 teams would be interested. I think some folks in the Pac-12 would be interested. I think some folks in the ACC would be interested. The guy is 26-2 as a starter. He's somebody that you'd love to have in your locker room, but I don't think he's going to sit around if it's clear to him that he's not going to be Alabama's starting quarterback. And I think the way Mac Jones played on Saturday in the spring game also kind of, if you're Alabama fans, and I think Alabama's coaches already knew this. They'd seen this in practice already. But if you're a fan who hadn't gotten to see practice, you're going, wait a second, we may have a capable backup even if Jalen Hurts leaves. And in that case, it kind of makes it easier on everyone involved, I think.
Yeah, and you hear people joking, Andy, about Jones being the second best quarterback on the league on the team. I don't know if that's fair or not, but it just seemed like he had it together more than Jalen did. What's your best guess? What do you hear on what is wrong with Jalen Hurts?
I don't think there's anything wrong with Jalen Hurts. I think he's the same quarterback he's always been. You take the non-contact out of that and make it where you have to tackle him. He's awfully difficult to deal with. He becomes much more difficult to deal with when you actually have to bring him to the ground. And I think there are 26 teams that have lost to him who will tell you that. But, well, maybe 25. I don't know if George is going to say that because they probably more lost to Tua. But, he's very talented. The thing is, Tua Tagovailoa may be exceptionally talented. We've seen one half, and I keep telling myself that it's just one half. But then 2 seconds later, I tell myself, wait, it was the second half of the national championship game against a super elite defense that he did all this. And you think, okay, you give him a full off season and you give him first team reps and that sort of thing. That's going to be a very formidable offense if he can do the good things he did in that game over. Look, he made mistakes, but he also fixed some of those mistakes or got them out of some of those mistakes with other plays. So I think they'd be just fine if Tua's the starting quarterback. You look at the receiving talent that they have just in the freshman class. Devontae Smith caught the touchdown that won them the national title. Henry Ruggs III was really coming on last season. Hale Henderson, you use him in the pass game at tight end. They've got lots of options, and if that's what they want, if they want a more vertical offense, then Tua's probably their guy. And Mac Jones might be the better backup for that. Now, if they want to have a more ground-based read option with a big threat of quarterback run game, well, that's Jalen. But it's really up to them what they want to do. And I think if Tua gets healthy and plays anywhere near the way he did in the second half of the national title game at practice, you're going to be seeing Tua Tagovailoa starting for them.
Talking to Andy Staples. Andy, not worth a lot of time, but Philip Fulmer came out on a radio show today, and he backed Jeremy Pruitt, which you expected him to do, but it's still being talked about, the line about the fans. What is your sense on all of that?
I don't get this. Maybe I've been involved in too many Jeremy Pruitt interviews, and I know there haven't been a ton, but he did talk, when he was at Florida State and they were in the BCS title game. He talked to me. He was at Georgia. The man has a very dry sense of humor. I did not take that seriously when he said that.
Really?
I went back and listened to it again, and just inflection and everything else. I thought he was kidding. So, and I think part of that was tongue in cheek. And now maybe he was trying to make the comparison to his team, where he said that some guys were later, or maybe a little earlier, he was talking about how some guys on the team gave a lot of effort, and some guys on the team quit. And he was kind of equating the fans who weren't there to the guys who weren't giving enough effort. But I think he was saying that tongue-in-cheek. I don't think that was you are terrible fans because you didn't show up at this glorified practice. I think he understands that Tennessee football needs to earn that back, and that the way the program has been the last year or so, it hasn't earned that. So it'll be up to him and those players to earn that spring game attendance this time next year.
Talking to Andy Staples. Andy, the Georgia quarterback situation isn't getting nearly the attention for obvious reason, but what are you hearing from what has now commenced in Georgia about the situation? You got Fromm, you got Fields. Is that going to be a serious race?
It could be, and Kirby Smart has every intention of making it one, and he's fine with that. That doesn't bother him. The fact that Jake Fromm was very upset when he didn't win the job against Jacob Eason last year turned out to be a great thing for Georgia's football program. And so if this turns into a serious competition in August for the starting job, I don't think that's going to bug Kirby Smart at all. I think if I had to bet, Jake Fromm would be the starter, and as long as he stays healthy, he would stay the starter, but I would imagine they find a way to get Justin Fields on the field a little bit. People who've been to practice have told me that Justin Fields his skill set is huge, and he's one of it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. But Jake Fromm is also, he's got the respect of his teammates. He took him to the national title game last year. My guess is he will take the push from Justin Fields in the right way. It will help push him to be better as well. Again, if Justin Fields happens to beat out Jake Fromm, that means he's real good. If Jake Fromm happens to hold off Justin Fields, that's a good thing for Georgia, too. I mean, Kirby Smart has made it a point. I remember I talked to him earlier in the spring, and he was almost giddy at the thought of these two guys going at it, because he loves the idea of a couple of alpha dogs fighting it out for a position. He wants that at every single position. And look, this is a team that has that going on in a lot of positions. And I think it's not a case of, competition because nobody's really separated themselves. It's that they have good options at lots of different positions, and quarterback might be the one where they have the two best options.
Finally, the names aren't well known in Baton Rouge, and the outlook isn't very bright. What do you hear coming out of their camp?
I'm not giving up on LSU just yet. I know everybody's bagging LSU's season already. And I get that it's going to be a tough schedule, but I'd like to actually see this offense on the field before I completely bail on it like everybody else seems to be. It definitely seems like, they have to figure out what they want in a quarterback where Justin McMillan is kind of the strike a balance between the running and the throwing, while Narcisse is the better runner, Miles Brennan the better pure passer. And I think that what they need to do is in camp, and they don't have to do this till camp, but evaluate, how good are the backs? How good is the offensive line? Will the offensive line and the backs be able to establish a running game that doesn't require a ton of quarterback run? If that's the case, then Brennan might be your guy. Do you need a little more quarterback run? If that's the case, then maybe McMillan or Narcisse is your guy. But this is something they can figure out as they get closer to the season. I'm not giving up on them yet. I realize they got to open with Miami. They draw Georgia from the East. It's not going to be easy, but I have not totally backed LSU yet.
Good to hear. Andy, always a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Paul.
Jimmy is up next. What do you say, Jimmy? In Chicago.
Hey, Paul. Well, I was going to just say, hey, to salvage the last 2.5 hours of the show, and you had the right idea when you said you pulled Andy out of the dentist chair. I was about to tell you during one of the breaks, just call all of your reliable guests that owe you and just say, could you please bail me out and get me through the rest of the show?
I feel much better. I mean, we were down by 13 points at halftime, but we're coming back. I feel we made a quarterback change though.
Yes, well, it was brutal, but you made the right move. But
well, the mistake I made tonight, Jimmy. I actually challenged some of these bad callers, and that made things worse.
Oh, good grief!
I mean, I started blitzing against a one-eyed quarterback.
Oh, good grief! I never heard anything like it. But I wanted to call in regard to Jeff and Columbus's call yesterday. He made a really interesting point. He was comparing the Jalen Tua situation to what happened after Cardale Jones shocked everybody with his performance against Alabama in the playoff, and it sparked him to the national championship. And then J.T. Barrett was coming back, the next season off the broken ankle and so forth. And he's right in that J.T. Barrett and Jalen are so similar in that they've got serious deficiencies in the passing game, but they're both really good leaders, tremendous runners, and which makes them a very effective college quarterbacks. But against elite defenses, they struggle. But in comparing the Tua to Cardale, though, there's no comparison because Tua did this, again, on a moment's notice as a true freshman with no experience. And Cardale, when he came through in the playoff in 2014, had been in Columbus 3 or 4 years, and to say the least, was not the most focused player on a lot of things. And I got to say one thing, though, about Cardale. When he, as a true freshman, and you look at Tua, just how polished he is and all the upside. Well, Tua, it's the greatest quote of all time when he got there as a true freshman at Ohio State. And I quote, "Why should we have to go to class if we came here to play football?"
That's so true.
We ain't come here to play school. Classes are pointless. I mean, it's one of the greatest quotes of all time. And, Ohio State fans, they have to cringe, but it's just really interesting. But Tua, though, you can tell. I mean, he's
one thing about him, too, is the players love him. He's a leader, and I think that's what's going to be. Jalen Hurts needs to come out of whatever cocoon he's been in. Jerry is in Tennessee. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Paul, this is Jerry Hargis. How are you today?
Well, Jerry, thank you.
Yeah, I know you're a UT grad, and I'm big diehard, Big Orange. Always have been. I remember listening since 1968, but all these fans that's giving Pruitt heck over what he said, those are the same fans that was booing CBJ last year. They need to put their big boy britches on. Let this man do his job. I think he's a man for the job. I mean, Fulmer thinks he is. Fulmer had a pretty good track record at Tennessee, so let's give him a benefit of the doubt. CBJ got us as far as he could. I mean, SEC big boy country. It ain't up there in the Matt where he come from, or Cincinnati. But I believe Pruitt will be the man. I just think the fans need to shut up and let him do his job.
Thank you very much for the call. Do appreciate it. Hope he gets the time. David is in Kentucky. Welcome to the program, David.
Hey, Paul. How you doing, buddy?
We are doing great. Thank you.
Hey, we need to talk about a little Kentucky football.
What about it? What do you think?
Well, I don't think we get enough love. I think we're always rated down there at the bottom of the league.
Okay, well, let's talk about it for a second. We talked to Coach Stoops the other day before his spring game. Give us a reason to fall in love with Kentucky, because I fell in love with them last year and had my heart broken. I had my heart broken during the Florida game. That's what happened to me.
Well, it's 2 years. Was it 2 years in a row? We've had our guts ripped out by Florida on bad calls.
That needs to end. Well, forget. Hey, David, do you know how to avoid letting bad calls affect the outcome of a game?
Well,
don't let it come down to the end.
Don't let it come down to the end. Yeah, but we're rebuilding. I think Stoops has done a pretty solid job. I think we're getting some quality players in here. We're getting better recruits, no doubt.
Oh, listen, we agree with you on that. I just feel like the program needs to take another step.
Well, I think this is the year to do it. We got Touchdown Terry. I think he'll elevate the offense. Benny Snell's a beast. He's going to get his. We were a little disappointed when Damian Harris went to Alabama. I wouldn't trade him for Snell right now for nothing. Jordan Jones, he could lead the SEC in tackles on defense as long as he stays out of injuries. And we've got a lot of people came back on defense just to win, and sidestep the NFL. So I think we're sitting in a good spot. They're only picking us for 5-6 wins.
So, David, help me understand this thing. Where should Kentucky be? Where do you have Kentucky going this year?
Well, if you look at the schedule, we've been owning South Carolina. Tennessee, we should beat again. We got Mississippi State. We've split with them the last 2 years. That's a toss-up. Hopefully we can get that win. Who knows what's going to happen at A&M. We hope it'll be a good outcome for us. But, you're
basically talking about the past. You're not telling me about the present.
Yeah. Well,
you're going to beat Florida?
We're going to beat Florida this year.
You're going to beat A&M on the road? You're going to win at Missouri? Come on. You're going to win.
Missouri, yeah.
I don't know. You're the one calling and talking about why we're not talking good about Kentucky. And we welcome you to the second half of the program. Glad you are here, and let's continue with more phone calls. Mitch begins this section off. Mitch, welcome to the program. Good afternoon. Mitch, you there?
We fumbled the kickoff. And the opposition has the ball at the 1 yard line. Man, after all that's painful. Okay, we need to go to someone who has operated a submarine, because we need a defense right now in the worst possible way. So I'm calling Greg to save the day. Greg, we need a turnover right now.
Hey, we got one. We're manning battle stations all across the board here. I want to talk about quarterbacks, because you mentioned it with Andy Staples earlier in regards to Alabama and Georgia, and it's amazing that you could be talking about plugging and playing different quarterbacks every year for these two teams. And I wonder if that's going to really benefit either team in the long run.
Good question.
The opposite end of that spectrum are teams who have refused, for whatever reason, to up their quarterback play or their selection of quarterbacks. And Louisiana, or LSU, is a perfect example. One of the major complaints about LSU before Orgeron came on, when Les Miles was running it, was that the quarterback play was terrible. Now, it improved somewhat when they brought in the transfer guys from Purdue, but at the bottom line is that we still are seeing the same level of quarterback play that costs Les his job that we're seeing from LSU.
Yeah, no, I don't see it. Quite frankly, Greg, outside of that first couple of weeks when you saw a lot of enthusiasm, you heard a lot of hype from the players. Once we got to the Florida game that year, when LSU couldn't get in from 1 yard out in that epic revenge game of all games because of the controversy, what have we seen really consistently out of that program?
well, we've seen mediocrity. It's what we've seen. And so I would challenge the guests that you've had that have been overly optimistic, like Booger and Marcus, who have gone on there and say they have seen things that make them optimistic. But what has changed?
You know what? That's kind of a
cliche
cliche that people say at the beginning of a season. I hear it all the time, and I'm not criticizing either one of them. Maybe they have seen things, but I don't have a good feeling about it.
Right. So it's amazing that in the same conference, and I'm sure it's everywhere to some degree, but you have at the top, you have teams who are swapping or plugging in quarterbacks willy-nilly, and it's not having a detrimental effect, and you have other teams that are still stuck in the mud. And the last thing I want to say is that you were talking about Jalen earlier and how he tends to stumble after LSU. Jalen has proved that he can win games. He has proven that he can take us to championship games, but he has yet to prove that he can win a championship, and that's the rub. And what we have seen in Jalen may be the best that Jalen can be. I guess the jury may still be out on that, but what we're seeing is maybe who he is. And I don't know that he's capable of getting out of that shell, as you put it earlier, because we are all creatures of habit, and it's hard to break a habit. But thanks for taking my call.
Thank you very much. Great
Hopefully
to hear from you.
Today will be better. Thank you.
It's going to be better. I guarantee it. Let's continue. John is in Tennessee. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Hey, Paul. How you doing today?
Okay. Thank you.
First of all, I got a few things to say. I got a question for you and Kubiak both. First of all, these people calling in complaining about your show. I know from experience trying to organize even a 1-hour show is difficult. So the fact that you all put a 4-hour show together is astonishing. So
thank you.
Keep up the good work. Wolves do not concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. But my question is, Saquon Barkley. I think the guy's the truth. I think he's going to end up being an NFL Hall of Famer. Is it because of the shelf life of the running back is why he's not so being looked at for like the number one pick? Is that why? Is it because he's a running back?
You know, I think he has been looked at as. I'll bring John in. John Hazen. He went to Penn State and knows the Barkley story very well. But I mean, to me, I think most people agree he's the best player in the draft.
Yeah, and this is what it is, Paul. Especially today, you know, Saquon Barkley. He's the sure thing. He's got a 401k. He's got a house. He's got a nice car. Nothing special. You're interested in that, but he doesn't have. He's not the big time mansion in Beverly Hills that you're going to foreclose on in a couple months. That's Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are so obsessed.
Fantastic analogy.
People are so obsessed with the flashiness of Baker Mayfield today. The quarterback position, it is by far the most difficult position in all of sports. And if you get a guy, it can change your franchise around just like that. So instead of just taking the sure thing, people want to take a risk, try to get that big time job, try to buy that big time mansion, and 5 years from now file for bankruptcy. That will happen to the Cleveland Browns if they draft Baker Mayfield and pass on Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I think Saquon's going to step in and do something kind of like what Todd Gurley's done, kind of like, make a case for himself for being a really good running back. Like I said, I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But, Kubiak, my question to you is, why would Notre Dame be better suited for the ACC rather than the Big Ten?
Because they're in the ACC in every other sport right now, and to get out of it, they'd have to pay, and they could get more exposure if they're playing Clemson, Florida State, Miami than if they're playing Iowa, Indiana, and Purdue.
Well, guys, I appreciate you taking my phone call.
Thank you very much. I feel good.
Job.
I mean, we are. I hate to tell you, after we fumbled the kick, we actually got we blocked the field goal, by the way, or we are still only down 13-0, but we are now marching down the field. And you know what you do when you need a home run and you need a touchdown? You go to the surest thing on the Finebaum show. When you need a great call, you have no doubt when you go to the phone, not Jim from Tuscaloosa, that was yesterday, Larry from Shelby.
Oh, come on, man. You fixed to butter me up with a big slam. I know
No, we need you, Larry.
Oh, you don't need me. No, but I do need this. Mark Kubiak, no way on this world, on this earth, will you ever have Notre Dame in the SEC. Not while I'm breathing, Jack. There's no way they're going to.
Larry, I don't think anyone mentioned Notre Dame in the SEC, buddy.
Yes, he did. Mark did.
Nope.
Mark sure did.
Wrong.
Wrong-o, Laro.
Wrong.
Larry, hold on a second. Larry, I'm going to give you a spelling test.
No, I was a caller that mentioned.
Do you know the difference between the letters S and A? Do you know the difference between the letters C and E? Now, C and C are the same. He said ACC, not SEC.
Oh, well, that just scared me. But Mark was wanting in the SEC. That's what
Mark, you want in the SEC?
I think they're going to join there, so it doesn't matter what I want. I think that's what they will end up doing.
Have you two hashed out the Alabama-Notre Dame series scheduled for 2028 and 2029?
Larry, are we going to go to that game together?
Oh, man, yes, sir.
Where's the first game, Mark?
I think it's South Bend.
Yeah, up in Notre Dame.
Hey, Larry, what is the game? What year?
2028.
So 10 years from now. Larry, are you up for a road trip to South Bend?
Oh, yeah, baby. I'm kicking like a chicken. And, Mark, you better bring your first aid kit, Jack, because you're going to need it if you say
my first aid kit for you?
No, for you.
Oh,
for you.
Larry, just for my own edification, will you be in your 70s or 80s in 10 years from now?
Listen, y'all not worried about age.
Here's the deal, Larry. Larry, here's the deal. I'm not worried about oxygen. I'm not worried about a coronary or an MI or TI or whatever kind of TI. What I'm worried about, Larry, here's what I'm worried about, Larry. I've been to that stadium. A lot of tough guys sit in the stands at Notre Dame Stadium. I just don't want you to mouth off and some Notre Dame guy just kick your...
No, that won't happen. I'll be in my 80s, but I'm tougher than nails. Let me tell you.
Now, Larry, would you? I mean, would you get into a fight with a Notre Dame fan if he poured beer on your Alabama hat?
You got that right. It would be on, son. I would tell him to watch the bird. Have you ever had anybody tell you to watch the bird?
What happens, Larry, when that happens?
You take your left hand up there and you go, watch the bird, and when they look up, pow, you nail them. That's what you do.
Hey, Kubiak, you've been to Notre Dame Stadium a million times. You think Larry might get out of there okay?
Yeah, I mean, I brought Ed to the Georgia game this year. It'd be the same thing like bringing Larry to that game in 10 years.
Well, why don't we just go to Notre Dame game together before then? I mean,
you want to go to a Notre Dame game this year? They're better scheduled than Alabama's.
I'll go with you.
Mark, who's Notre Dame's best home game?
Michigan week 1.
Ooh, I like. Hey, Larry, what about
Florida State in November? That's a pretty good one.
Larry, since your team's playing a cream puff or cupcake on opening weekend, why don't you go up there for the Notre Dame Michigan game? You can harass both fan bases.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome.
I might go. Right, by the way, I may go with you.
Whoa, that'd be kicking like a chicken, Jack.
Got it, Larry in South Bend. That would be pretty wild. Welcome back as we continue here on this Thursday afternoon. More calls, a lot of things happening here. Coach is in Tennessee. Welcome to the program, Coach. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry. I want to apologize first for calling 2 days in a row.
Don't apologize at all.
Well, I just took exception. I couldn't stand it any longer. I had took exception to some of your callers that are talking about Jeremy's quote-unquote temperament. Now, I know we've got a lot of first-hand information from a kicking instructor, but I would bet that if there was a problem with his temperament, don't you think Coach Saban would have known that before he hired him, and probably would have known it from Kirby?
Well, first of all, if one Georgia fan, that's what we're talking about here, wants a cheap shot Kirby's temperament, that's fine. I mean, there were well-known disputes between Jeremy Pruitt and Mark Richt. In fact, there was at least a story making the rounds that Jeremy was close to getting fired over there. about midway through the season. And whether Jeremy was retained or not doesn't matter. I mean, Kirby Smart wanted to bring his own coordinator in from Alabama. That's pretty standard fare. Did it work out pretty well for Jeremy Pruitt? Yeah, I'd say so. He played in 2 national championship games and left the University of Alabama with yet another national championship ring.
Well, from the other side of it that some callers don't understand, Coach Fulmer also, that's his guy. It's on his watch now.
Of course it is.
He would have vetted him tremendously before. If there was any impropriety of a temperament problem, Coach Fulmer wouldn't have put his name on the line to hire him. So I think some of the callers need to understand that there's always 2 or 3 sides to the story, and it's his, hers, and the truth in a lot of ways. But hey, one other comment about the draft, and I'll let you go. I think John Dorsey at Cleveland, I think we've got Tyrod Taylor on staff at Cleveland now, correct, from Buffalo?
I think you're right, yeah.
I believe he came over. He was one of the top 10 steals, I think, from 2010 in your list, I believe. And I think another player, Deshaun Watson, could be added to that list, too. I don't think, the first pick in the draft is a future Hall of Fame pick. It's not a okay pick. It's a future Hall of Fame. I think Barkley is the sure bet. I think that they could come back at 4 and maybe get a quarterback, or maybe take Chubb. But none of these quarterbacks, does any of these 5 quarterbacks we're talking about, does anybody think
there is not one of them that I would feel comfortable with a franchise pick like this? I mean, and frankly, the one I would never take would be Baker Mayfield. Never.
Correct.
And after that, I mean, you have to decide between the other 3, Allen, Darnold, and Rosen. I think they're all different players. They're all different temperaments.
They are, and I don't know if any of them. I don't know if I can foresee any of them being Hall of Fame. I mean, Deshaun Watson, wasn't he taken?
I mean, to me, Allen is the wildest card because he played for an off-brand team, and I mean, he the metrics on him are unbelievable. The other 2, I mean, Sam Darnold disappointed me last year more than any player in America.
Right, and don't forget the kid from Richmond. The quarterback from Richmond is going to make a name for himself. He's got size. He's got temperament. He's very good. He was coached by an old coach from Chattanooga, and he is very good. He will be drafted somewhere down the road, but I just think you got to take the sure thing that's going to be a Hall of Fame player, and that's Barkley.
Thank you very much. Great to hear from you, Coach. Really good stuff. Johnny is up next in Florida. Welcome to the show, Johnny.
How you doing, Paul?
We are doing great. Thank you.
Well, great. I just wanted to call you and give you a little encouragement. Your second half, Paul, is going to be great. Now, I'll tell you why. Because you're the quarterback, Paul. You make the calls. The sideline's not making the calls for you. You're making the calls, Paul. And I think that you got the calls and the book down. Great.
Yeah, I was a little bit, Johnny. I was unsteady during the first half. I think they tested me for concussion. Turned out to be negative, but I was a little bit rattled. But I'm feeling it now.
Yeah. Well, like I say, Paul, I was in sales my whole career with Playtex, Lever Brothers.
Yeah, sure.
And we used to say as a salesman, standing tall and looking good.
Hey, tell me this. Obviously you must have been a great salesman. What would you, a lot of people out there are in sales, and pretty much everyone sells something. What's the key to being a great salesman?
Well, I think that you have to have, to me, Paul, and I was very good in sales, the key that I had was persistence. I was extremely persistent with my buyers, and I would make my call like you normally do. Make your presentations, sell them on your product. What you're going to do to back your product on TV, and then just guarantee them that this product's going to sell. Show them the market, where it's at in the market, and then tell them, hey, put the product out.
Hey, let me ask you a question, Johnny. How important are the little things in sales? The follow-up. You've already answered one of my questions in terms of being persistent, but the things that most people don't think about.
Well, I think when you first, now it depends on if you're meeting the buyer for the first time.
No, I mean more as a follow-up. You meet them, okay. You make the sale. I mean, the relationship is where I'm going.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all, when you have everything ironed out and you have everything set, you have to ask for the order.
Right.
And you ask for the order the whole time through your presentation. And if you do that, you're selling it to the gentleman or the lady, and they will agree with you or they won't agree with you. And if they don't agree with you, then you back up.
So you're saying a lot of people sometimes never actually try to make the sale.
Well, they don't ask for the order.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about you, Paul, is you get people on the radio or on the TV with you, and they're trying to sell you something, but they never ask for the order. Yeah. They don't say, well, Paul.
Hey, let me ask you a really important question, Johnny. Who sold you that dog?
That dog?
I keep hearing barking in the background.
I got 3 big dogs.
Whoever did that, they asked for the order because I can hear the order all over your house, man.
Yeah, it is. They're big dogs. I love them. I'm a 100% disabled Vietnam veteran.
Wow, that's
amazing. I went right out of high school into Vietnam, 18, 19 years old. I can't remember, but I think, Paul.
Well, by the way, we appreciate that because I don't think. I mean, I have a lot of friends who went to Vietnam, and I don't think their service has ever been appreciated enough. By the way, what kind of dogs do you have?
Well, I have kind of a American bulldog.
Okay.
Then I have a part lab pit.
Got it.
And then I have she looks like a Ridgeback because she gets fired up. Her hair all the way down her back to her tail stands up. So she looks like a Ridgeback, but she looks also like a shepherd.
Well, Johnny, we're up against a break here, but thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it. Enjoyed the conversation. We will be back. Guests coming up here in a minute. Welcome back. We're glad you're here, and plenty of time for you to give us a ring at 855-242-7285. So this is draft day, and we all have favorite draft day memories of your favorite player, your favorite team, and Jacob Heester joins us. He was drafted, I think, 10 years ago from LSU, and of course, always good to catch up. Jacob, what's been going on with you?
Oh, man, Paul, it's been 10 years ago. That kind of hurts my heart knowing it's been 10 years.
Well, you're still young. If had it been 30 years ago, you might need to be worried.
There you go. You need to tell my wife that. You can tell my wife that I'm still young. I need to record that.
I will. I'll notarize it, certify it. So let's talk about the experiences. And when we watch these guys tonight, and most of the time it's a great experience. Sometimes it's pretty painful to watch when you think you're going in the first round and you keep slipping and sliding away. What was it like for you?
When I was getting drafted, it was anywhere, Paul, from 2nd to 5th round. Like, I really had no clue. Some teams had me at running back. Some teams had me at fullback. And so that first day of the draft, back when I was getting drafted, it was the 1st and 2nd round was that first day. So I just went golfing, got away from the draft, had my phone on me, but didn't look at the draft. If it rang, it rang. If it didn't, that's great. And then the next day, I got picked in the 3rd round, but it's funny. So we were setting up a draft party. There was a draft started at 9 Eastern time. We weren't thinking right. We got the times mixed up. We were in the Central Time Zone. So we're setting up for the party. The draft comes on, and I actually get drafted before the draft party started because we messed up the time. But it ended up being a good thing because by the time everybody got to the party, Paul, there was no pressure. Already been drafted, got chosen 69th overall by the San Diego Chargers, and we had a great day.
Let me ask you about a couple of players, especially Darius Geis. You know Darius, and I don't want to act like he has slipped down the chart because he may go higher than we anticipate. But a year ago, he looked like a surefire first rounder. What has been going on with him? We know what he's capable of. Is it injuries? What is it?
I don't know what it is. I'll be honest with you. You keep hearing this off the field stuff, and it's crazy to me just knowing the young man. And him playing video games at nighttime seems to be an issue for some teams, which just sounds silly to me. And look, I've played with some great running backs. I've been very fortunate. I played with LaDainian Thompson. I played with Darren Sproles, Noshawn Moreno, Willis McGahee. And if Darius Geis isn't a first-round back, then I don't know anything about the position, and I shouldn't have my own sports talk show. I shouldn't be talking about football because he's a first-round talent. He's as good as Leonard Fournette was. Those two guys are generational backs, and LSU was lucky to have them back-to-back. Both those guys are on the same level for me. And Leonard Fournette's a guy who went top 5 last year, and I think Darius Geis is that kind of running back. And I think he's still an untapped potential as far as what he can do in the passing game. So I'm not sure what's going on. If he's not a first-rounder again, then it boggles my mind.
Understand. Well, let's move away from the draft and talk about the camp that has just ended in Baton Rouge. You talk about it all the time. We get conflicting stories. What happened, and where is this program today, and where is it going?
Well, look, you got to LSU practice. One thing that stands out to me, that wasn't there last year, is the depth on the offense and defensive line. It was way too thin last year, Paul. When you start talking about going into the swamp, playing against Florida, and you have 4 healthy D linemen. Christian Lockenshore had to play every snap in that game, and you can look at the Mississippi State game. It was kind of the same situation. And flip to the offensive line in that Florida game. They had 5 freshmen playing at one time because of injuries and things that happened in that Florida game. That can't ever happen again because it showed up on the line of scrimmages where you win in the SEC. I think we all can agree on that. And the depth has been fixed there. And so that was, my opinion, maybe the biggest issue from last year's team that they've had fixed. Now they have holes at other places this year, yes, but that was probably the one thing they had to get fixed.
And now that has apparently happened, let's start with the offense. New coordinator again. You know him well. There has been mild controversy over the end of Canada's run and the Ensminger era. Where are you on all that?
I thought when Ensminger came in as an interim, taking over from Ken Cameron, I don't think people just realize how hard that is to call somebody else's offense and have the success that Steve was able to have. I mean, they were setting records almost every game, and a lot of people like to point to the Alabama game where they got shut out, but Alabama shut out a lot of people that year. I think Ensminger's a great hire. I think him and Coach O have a great relationship, and for whatever reason, that relationship with Matt Canada and Coach Orgeron just didn't work out. They did not get along, and I think it showed through a little bit, and now they move on from him. And Ensminger's a guy that's going to change the LSU offense, I think. And when you go out to spring practices and scrimmage and even the spring game, you can see many more wide-open sets. And we've heard that for a long time in LSU, but this year it seems to actually be happening.
In terms of Coach Orgeron, I mean, he's impossible not to like, but you can certainly, being objective, find faults. Give us the read from on the ground about Coach O.
Oh, look, Coach O kind of hasn't changed since he's gotten this job. He's made it known that nobody wants to be the LSU football coach more than him. And last year, with the Matt Canada and everything that went on, it didn't seem like it was as comfortable as he wanted to be. And you come back this year, they've made a couple of hires. There's new faces all over the place, be it players, be it coaches. And it seems like this is the make or break. Like, this is the people he wanted here. He was going to live or die with these people that he brought in, be it Coach Ensminger, Bill Bush as a safeties coach. You can go kind of up and down the board. James Craig's an offensive line coach, and he seems like he is comfortable with the staff that he has. And, still the same excited coach that when he got the job, and you go in there, it's enthusiasm all day long.
We saw the props coming out of Vegas the other day. I'm sure you talked about it, where expectations are pretty low for this LSU team. It's 6, 7, 8 wins, somewhere in there. What is the view of the fans that you talk to every day, and what do they expect out of the upcoming LSU football season?
Yeah, so when you start talking about 6 wins in LSU football, that's just uncharted waters, and the schedule's brutal. I mean, there's no hiding from that. You open up with Miami, and we can go down the list: Alabama, Georgia. It is a rough schedule, but I don't know. It's hard to put a number on it because you have so many questions offensively. Outside of your number one tight end and your number one receiver, everywhere else is a position battle. And that's just not happening in a lot of places in the SEC. So it's kind of that we don't really know, who's going to show up. What's the quarterback situation going to be? Who's going to run the ball? Things like that. It could end up being a positive. It could be a negative. So a lot of unknown, a lot of position battles. Like I said, you can go 9 deep when you start talking about position battles on the offensive side of the football. But with the defense they have, and I truly believe they'll be a top 5 defense in the country, they'll keep them in ball games. It all comes down to, can the offense make enough plays to win those games?
Great stuff, as always, from Jacob Heester. Jacob, be well. We always enjoy catching up with you. Hope to see you soon.
Absolutely, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. Great running back in LSU, talking about his experiences and what to expect this year from the LSU Tigers. Welcome back to our program, and more of your phone calls at 855-242-7285. Let's check in next with Cole, who is in Louisiana. Hello, Cole.
Hey, Paul. I was listening to you and Jacob Hester's conversation. As an LSU fan, I think expectation is national championship, win the West. But being realistically, 7-8 games will be okay, obviously. And I also wanted to ask if you heard anything about the Joe Oliva situation, maybe being fired as the AD. And if he is, how long do you think Orgeron will last?
Cole, I haven't heard anything about that. I've not one ounce of commentary about Joe Oliva's future. Most people seem to think he's on pretty solid ground down there. John is up next in Dothan, Alabama. Hello, John.
Hello, my friend. How you doing?
I am doing great. Miss talking to you.
Yeah, I know it. I hadn't called lately. Hey, here's my question. Hurts and Tua, they're both basically, I guess they're both fairly equal in their talents. Do you see Coach Saban using them if they're playing against a run defense stop team, would he go with Tua as a passer?
John, yeah, I mean, certainly Jalen Hurts has a lot of, he's a fantastic runner. You know that. The issue isn't what Coach Saban will do. The issue is whether Jalen Hurts will stay.
Oh, well, that's interesting. That is very interesting. Well, I hope they both stay because I think that he could utilize both of them depending on the opponent, whether they're a run-oriented defense or a pass-oriented defense. But that's just my opinion. I don't know if that'll materialize.
Well, no, that's a pretty accurate opinion, but I think it's going a little bit deeper than that because of what Hurts' father said the other day. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Try Mitch again. Mitch, go right ahead.
Well, that's interesting. That is very interesting.
Mitch apparently is just not. Just a word to the wise. I understand you're watching TV or listening to the radio, but if you're on hold, it's better to react when we go to you than to wait 8 or 9 seconds. Maryland is up next in Texas. Hello, Maryland.
Hi, Paul. My family just thinks the world of you, and so thank you
thank you very much.
And your staff for putting on a great show.
We appreciate that.
We are a big family of Aggies, and each of you have an open invitation to our tailgate any given Saturday.
Well, thank you. We may take you up on that. That would be great.
Oh, please do. We'd love to have you. I want to talk about my Aggie football team. We were just down there at the spring game, and what warms my heart was that big, beautiful tight end. I am so excited that Jimbo's bringing in a new offense, and just wanted your thoughts on that. You know, we've had this run and shoot for so long, and sometimes it was more like run and shoot ourselves in the foot, actually.
It sure was.
But I just was so excited.
I am really excited, like you are, about what Jimbo's going to bring, and I think even this year there is a really good chance of a better than expected record. But I said it a couple weeks ago that I believe Jimbo Fisher will get this program to a college football playoff. I think he is built for that. He's the only Saban disciple to have won a national championship, and I would not pay much attention to his last year or two at Florida State. I think he probably should have left earlier than he did. Family circumstances kept him there. But when A&M called, he took the job, and I mean, in the conversations we've had with him, we've had quite a few, he seems re-energized and refocused.
We think so too. We're again, just to echo your comments, we're really excited about it, and I think we're going to have a good season. I'm cautiously optimistic. That spring game was interesting. I don't know if you've seen any of it. We had Mond at the helm of the white team, and Starkle at the helm of the maroon team,
right.
And Starkle had command until that interception in the deep in his own end, and Mond and the white folks, the white team, ended up winning that. But there was a lot of good plays. There were a lot of those young men that did great, and there is definitely some things that we need to improve on. Hate to lose Kurt, but I just wish him the best of luck tonight in the draft.
Sure.
Along with the rest of our Aggies.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Really appreciate your kind words. Nick is up next. Nick?
Hey, Paul. 2nd and 26, Paul. 2nd and 26. That's what the show's like today, Paul. 2nd and 26.
Yeah, well, you know what happened after 2nd and 26, don't you?
Yeah, but I don't have the arm to air it out.
I looked off and had a touchdown. What about you, Nick? You going to try to save the show, or you're going to fumble it for us?
No, I'm going to try to say. Well, I don't know, Paul. That's what I'm saying. I want to talk to Hayes and Kubiak.
Nick, let me ask you a question. When you call in, do you have a mindset of what you want to say, or is it just like going to a psychiatrist, maybe going back to Freud and free associate?
No, I usually have something to say, Paul.
Just like a stream of consciousness? Is that what this is?
No, when I call in, I have something to say. But
Nick, what is it that you want to say? Is what I'm asking.
Well, I wanted to ask Kubiak and Hayes about Notre Dame and Penn State football teams this coming year. They haven't talked too much about them, and I want to know what they think about Penn State and Notre Dame coming in.
I feel like this is Bama Nick trying to get on our good side, Paul.
Yeah.
He's trying to get in on that top 10.
Yeah. You know what, Nick?
He wants that top 10 bad.
Nick, were you disappointed that you didn't make the top 10 list?
Well, no, I wasn't disappointed, Paul. I got some followers that thought I should have made it, but I figured I would have been in the top 15.
Let me ask you a question. Nick, let me ask you a question. Do you call this show? Do you like honesty on this show?
Well, always, Paul. Always.
I did a list of the top 150 callers on this show, Nick. You know where you were?
2.
Made it to the final hour, and I think after a bumpy beginning, we're in good shape. We've taken a 12-point lead, and we're going to coast on our way to the finish tonight. Slow start, fast finish. And when you think of fast finishes, can you imagine starting the final hour to a program from a guy who's unranked in Kubiak and John Hayes' top 10 list? I don't believe it, Jerome.
Baby, man, I ain't got time for no damn top 10. You know what, Finebaum? I was minding my own business, but see, this is the second time I've heard you mention Texas A&M going to get to the playoff. Explain that, Paul.
Well, I explain it because Jimbo Fisher is one of the best coaches in the SEC, and they have the best facilities in the SEC. They have one of the best fan bases in America, and usually you coalesce all of that around and you win. Remember when Alabama wasn't winning? What did they do? They brought in a big-time coach.
I don't remember when
A&M wasn't winning. They brought in a big
I don't remember.
Jerome, your program's not the only one that can win.
I can't tell. I can't tell. That's all y'all talk about. Little nigga been in Tuscaloosa.
You barely won the Jerome.
What, Paul?
You barely won the national championship against one of your cousins.
What? So what? I barely got out of their bed this morning and made it to work, but I made it. So what? What they got to do with this thing?
It took an overtime win, Jerome. You know why?
No, Paul. It took little Nicky putting Tua in and just damn giving the offense over to Tua and said, "Go get the damn championship." That's what it took, Finebaum.
And what happened the year before when Dabo beat you guys?
But I don't know what happened during the game, but I tell you what happened after the game.
Hey, Jerome, let me ask you a question. Where do you live?
I live in Trussville. What they got to do with anything?
What state do you live in?
Go ask me all the damn foolish.
No, answer my question, Jerome. Answer my question. What state do you live in?
Get to the point. You know what state I live in. Get to the point.
That's Alabama, right?
Right.
Who won the state championship in Alabama this year between Auburn and Alabama?
Kudos. Well, what time they going to see Governor Kate? Kudos. Who cares? What that got to do with anything, Finebaum? Y'all keep talking this. You come up with these old foolish scenarios and all these crazy assholes or whatever you want to call it, Finebaum. I'm trying to put it. Alabama is still the damn king of college football, Paul.
Okay, we get that, Jerome. So what's your point? What is your point?
What, Paul? You know what? Now you want to bring up quarterback controversy in Tuscaloosa.
Well, why don't you tell me if this is a good look for Alabama right now when the starting quarterback looks like he's not even the second best quarterback on the team?
Well, I can't help that. That ain't my fault. That ain't my fault. Little Nicky better do Little Nicky better do the right damn thing. You hear me? I don't care who don't look like nothing down there in T-Town. Little Nicky better come when Louisville hit the field. He better have a tour on the field. That's who better be on the field, Paul. So that quarterback controversy, that's just radio and media talk, Paul.
I don't think it's media talk.
Hey, we don't have no controversy in Tuscaloosa.
I'm not the one who told the newspaper reporter last week that if my son leaves Alabama, he'll be the greatest free agent in college football history. That's your quarterback, not mine.
Well, you know what, Finebaum? All I can tell him is I'm going to pray for him, and I hope if he decides to leave, he land in a good destination. You hear me? That's all I got to say.
But you have already sold out your starting quarterback, the man who led you to 2 national championship games.
I didn't sell him out, Finebaum.
Yeah, you did. You just got through selling him out.
Do what?
You just sold him out a minute ago.
I didn't sell him out. Don't come with that foolish trying to put me on blast, Paul. I didn't sell him out. You hear me? He sold himself out. You hear me? Little Nicky better put the right person on the field. You mean we got too many playmakers out there. We got too many studs need the football. We ain't got time for that foolishness this year. We got to separate, you hear me? Georgia is on our butt right now, Paul. You hear me?
Well, I know that Jerome, they whipped you guys in recruiting.
I don't give a crap about one doggone #1 recruiting class. We got a whole bunch of them down there in Tuscaloosa, Paul. You hear me?
Yeah, but you have to admit, Jerome. I mean, you're an honest guy. I like you for that.
I ain't got to admit nothing.
You have to admit that little old Kirby is starting to get in Nick Saban's head.
Hey, listen, he not only getting in the Nicky head, Paul, he got in mind. You hear me? Hey, look, when he started landing them athletes last year, I couldn't breathe, Paul. All I could think of was Julio and Mark Ingram class. I was like, Jesus Christ, what's going on in Georgia? You hear me? But hey, y'all enjoy it, Paul, because guess what? They trying to load up, Paul, and we already loaded. So whatever they doing up there in Georgia, kudos to them, baby. Have a blast, do what you got to do, baby. But we still the damn kings of college football, Finebaum.
For now.
Well, until further notice.
And don't forget, you got Kirby.
What Kirby got to do with anything?
You got Jimbo, and now you got Jeremy Pruitt in Knoxville.
But, Finebaum, I don't care what you got in the East, North, West. I don't give a crap about all that. The problem is you still got little Nicky in T-Town.
For how long? For how long?
I hope he's there for 10 more years, Finebaum, so I can see him play Notre Dame.
You know he's not going to be there for 10 years. That's ridiculous.
Well, you know it is ridiculous, but ain't nothing wrong with hoping, wishing, and praying.
Well, I'm not going to stop you from praying.
Well, I'm going to keep on praying, Finebaum. You hear me? Because, until little Nicky leave, like I tell you all the time, Paul, until he decides to hang up the damn cleats, roll damn tide.
An epic call by Jerome, as we expected. Matt on Paris Island. How are you, Matt?
Hey, how's it going?
We are doing great, Matt. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to go after that. Well, let's just start off by saying War Eagle. So I've got a little bit of concern as an Auburn fan. We got Jarrett Stidham, and there's a lot of hype with him, and I almost feel like going back to Jeremy Johnson, where there was all that hype surrounded with him, and he kind of puttered out. I'm wondering.
But come on, I mean, the hype for Jarrett Stidham is legit. We know what he's capable of. I think the bigger question is what type of cast is he going to have around him? He's not going to have Kerryon Johnson anymore. He's not going to have Petway. I mean, tell me what he's going to have in that backfield.
Right, and that's when I'm wondering if Gus Malzahn will get out of his play call and do a little bit more play-action passing, let Jarrett do his strengths, and for one time adjust his offensive play calling. That's what I was just getting ready to say. I think that he's got the potential to carry us, but they're going to have to change the offensive scheme a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Matt, well, thank you. Really appreciate the call. Thanks for the info. Let's go to J.D. in Arkansas. Hello, J.D.
J.D., this is P.A., but it doesn't matter. I got one thing I need to say. I'm going to repeat what I said the other day. I have never seen a program that pimps Texas A&M and the University of Tennessee more than this one. Now, I get this, understanding why you pimp Tennessee. You're an alum, and I get that. But A&M, Jimbo Fisher, I mean, believe me, he didn't come down from.
So JD, let me make sure. Hold on a second, JD. JD, let's start over again, okay? JD, slow down. What is your beef with me again? You said I did what for?
You
pimp Tennessee,
Texas A&M. You allow those calls. You talk about how great Jimbo Fisher is. And how he can do this.
Okay, well, let's. We can have a JD.
Contender. JD, never been a national contender.
Am I the only person that likes having conversations in this world? JD, may we talk to each other instead of talking at each other?
Okay, you're right. I'll
okay, you're obviously an Arkansas fan, correct?
Correct. I admit that we're on the wrong end of the pig.
Okay, so let's leave Tennessee out of it. They have nothing to do with this fight. Let's talk about A&M and Arkansas. You ready?
And how they've beaten us the last 5 years.
Okay. Now between the coaches,
I go along with that.
Between the
coaches, we beat them
coaches,
the first 3 years that we played down there. So I mean, it's basically 3 and 5.
Okay,
and we've gone through 2 coaches. One that never should have been here in the first place.
Okay.
One that should have never been fired. We still had Bobby Petrino, we would have never lost.
So you're saying Petrino shouldn't have been fired after
he should not have been fired.
Okay.
2 weeks after that.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
I guarantee everybody would have forgotten about it. It would have been a non-story. I mean, it's just
JD. I'm going to ask you again. JD.
I thought he was holier than thou, and was going to make a splash on the.
JD, I'm going to ask you again. Can we talk, or do you have to? I mean, is there a stop button on your voice activated?
No.
Okay. I want to talk about Bobby Petrino for a second. Bobby Petrino. Can you give me just a second? I know it's your show, but give me a second. Bobby Petrino had a relationship with a subordinate who clearly got her job because of him. It came out, not only did he lie to his immediate supervisors, he lied to everyone around him. And you're saying with a straight face that it was political correctness that he shouldn't have been fired and people would have forgotten about it in 2 weeks. Are you serious?
I am serious as pancreatic cancer.
That's pretty serious.
Yeah, that's very serious.
Well, I want you to explain why you thought lying to your superiors after breaking every imaginable school policy. Who knows what about state law? I don't even know, but it seems like he came pretty close.
Okay, can I say something about that?
You can say anything you want.
Okay, that didn't firing Petrino. That's what people in Arkansas were saying. We got to fire him because there's lawsuits that can be brought forth. Well, firing Petrino still doesn't mitigate what he did.
JD, do you think lying to a superior is a fireable offense?
Yes, but I think every situation should be looked at upon its own merit.
Listen, I know a lot about this case because I know Bobby Petrino. And I've sat down I sat down with Bobby Petrino after that happened, while he was not coaching, not long after he got fired, a couple of months later. And so I don't claim to know everything, but I know a little bit. And I'm just really puzzled by you thinking that the University of Arkansas would sell its soul to keep this man in that position. But I know we're getting off the subject here.
That man is an offensive genius.
He is. I agree.
And
He's also
do not come by those kind of coaches very often as proof positive of the guy we thought that we were getting.
Well, I got to tell you something, JD. I don't know how you were brought up, but I was brought up that if you're a liar, if you're a philanderer, if you're misrepresenting your bosses and your employer, you ought to get fired. You ought to get thrown out of there as fast as possible. And I just cannot imagine your thought process on this story. I really can't.
Well, there's a lot more people. I mean, I'm not the only one. I promise you that.
Well, I'm sure you're not. There's plenty of people out there that probably found nothing wrong with it, but I found a lot wrong with it. And
Paul, let me say, I don't think it's right what he did. Now, don't get me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I don't think
if you think your football program is bigger than that university, if you think that football program is bigger than integrity and morality and doing the right thing, then that's fine. That's the football. And by the way, you're right. Your program on that level has been a laughingstock ever since. But
a laughingstock?
Yeah, I would say it's the guy you brought in there
maybe
next.
That's why we didn't need to fire him.
Oh well.
So
Maybe you should have hired someone other than Brett Bielema. You ever thought about that?
I agree with that. I couldn't agree 100% more.
Okay. Well, let's move on because I really don't think the Bobby Petrino situation, what happened in 2000 and whatever, 11, 10, I don't even remember when it was. I don't think that needs to be relitigated. I think Jeff Long and the University of Arkansas did the right thing. I'm shocked that you don't think so, but then again, you're putting football program ahead of other priorities, which can't believe people do. We welcome you back. Glad you're here. Let's try to grab some more calls. Drew is in New Jersey. Drew, thank you for the phone call, and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. It's been a while, but where were you? Because, Peter was there for, a week.
Well, I was in Atlanta on Monday. I guess, is that what you're talking about?
So you were actually, were you there for the Bulldogs something?
No, I was in Atlanta Monday night. I was emceeing a dinner. That's where I was.
Oh, okay. Well, my questions were about the Georgia football schedule, and do they have an easy schedule? I'm not
yes, they do. They have a very easy schedule, Drew. They play. Their biggest non-conference game is Georgia Tech at the end of the year. That's ridiculous. That's not even that's a normal game they play. Austin P. Middle Tennessee sometimes is pretty good. And the other game is UMass, which you probably up in your area of the country, that's a terrible game. It's just really a bad schedule.
Yeah, well, hold on. When it pops up on the screen, I'm going to look at it. So
okay. Hold on. Hey,
Drew. Why Georgia is so good.
Hey, Drew. Let's see if we can get this back on the screen. I want you to analyze that schedule for me that you're looking at right now.
Austin P. Nolan serves out. South Carolina's pretty good.
Well, no, I understand.
The
SEC schedule is one thing, but I think that South Carolina game is very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Vanderbilt isn't great, but they're playing LSU in Florida. Florida's not that hard, but Kentucky, Auburn. Look, Massachusetts, UMass, and Georgia Tech. That's not hard at all.
No, it's terrible.
And then who else? Is Austin P. Wait, how come?
Middle Tennessee, Middle I think is coming off of a bad year. They've been good in the past, but they have. I don't think they were last year.
How come when I was looking up college football standings and teams like Grambling and Austin P. are not even part of the standings? Is that normal?
Yes.
Oh. Well,
But by the way, I was middle actually went to a bowl game last year, so they were 7-6. So I mean they're okay. But that's not great.
Oh, okay. So
would you project Georgia to be in the championship game again?
no, but they're obviously going to make it to the Final Four. You don't even need to predict who's going to go to the Final Four in college football. It's
Okay, well, who is it going to be?
Look, it's going to be Alabama,
Hey, look.
Clemson, Oklahoma, and Georgia.
Okay. Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. Where did you come up with Oklahoma?
Well, Oklahoma's they go like every year.
Well, but hey, Drew, if you're going to be a college football analyst at ESPN, you've got to do a little bit of homework, and not a lot, but a little bit. Oklahoma's probably not making it back this year. You do realize who Oklahoma's quarterback was, don't you?
No.
Are you going to watch the draft tonight?
No, I don't really pay attention to football, honestly. I love basketball, and I like basketball a lot more.
So what will you do? Okay, tonight is one of the biggest nights of the year in football. It's the NFL draft. What will you do tonight?
Probably just, watch the NBA playoffs or the NHL playoffs.
Well, listen, I have to tell you, I watched the NBA last night. What happened in Cleveland will easily dwarf anything that happens tonight in Dallas. I will promise you that.
You know what team I honestly think is going to go to the Final Four in the NBA?
No.
76ers.
Okay, you're a Sixers fan, huh?
No.
Well, who are you a fan of?
That. I'm a Knicks fan.
You're a Knicks fan?
But with the way they're going, I think they're going to go
Drew, the Knicks have not been good in your lifetime. You realize that, don't you?
Yeah, but even if anyone says the Knicks are bad, I get really mad at them.
Knicks are terrible.
They are.
Hey, by the way, Drew, a Sixers fan just called you out there.
Who?
John Hayes.
Drew, you need to pick your NBA team a little more wisely. You're in Jersey, so you've got options. You can go Nets, Knicks, or 76ers. I suggest you're 10. You're still young.
Hold on a
Hop
second.
off of that Knicks bandwagon.
Yeah, but hold on a second.
Yeah.
I realize you're a Philly guy. You can see Jersey from your house probably, but he lives outside of Manhattan, right, Drew?
Yeah.
So you're not going to be a Sixers fan if you live across the Hudson. You
could be a Brooklyn fan.
You could be a Brooklyn fan, yeah.
No, they're worse.
Oh, okay.
Worse.
Okay, we have to run here, Drew. I know. So, what's for dinner tonight? Anything good?
What are you making for dinner? Fish sticks. Fish sticks or something, I don't know.
Fish sticks?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of them, but
I used to love fish sticks when I was a kid.
Really? Also, are you allowed to so if I asked you the Arkansas State football schedule, would you be able to show it on the board?
Would I be able to show the Arkansas football schedule?
The
Arkansas State. No, we don't cover Arkansas State here.
Oh. Wait, let me see Arkansas, because I wonder if they have a hard one or an easy one.
Okay, here's the Arkansas schedule is Eastern Illinois. That's the opener, and then Colorado State. You'll probably get it in about 6 seconds. You live in Jersey, so things take a while to get up there. You got it?
No, not yet. It's taking a while.
Okay. Pay your cable bill, will you?
Sorry, Drew.
We have it down here in the South already. Drew, you got it?
Still no.
What cable system are you on? Next Day
okay,
Cable?
Okay, here we got it.
Okay.
Eastern Illinois, no one cares about. Colorado State, nobody cares about. North Texas, not that good. Auburn's pretty good.
Hey, tell you what, Drew, I got some advice for you.
What?
You've got a future in this business. Mike Francesca, he's bound to retire again any month, so you should be his replacement. Glad you're back with us. Good to hear. And Rich is up next in Atlanta.
Jack.
How are you?
Jack. Hey, man, congratulations, man. This is the absolute worst show I've ever heard. I just want to be part. I just want to be part of it.
You know, the sad part is that the last 2 hours have been fairly normal.
The first 2 hours were about as unbelievably weird as I've ever experienced, but I finally feel like we got out of the ditch. It took a while.
I got news for you, Jack. I don't think the last show have been that much better, to be honest.
Now, hold on a second. You don't think Nick and Jerome and the guy
Jerome's a great,
and the guy
and
who
Jack
was, you don't think the guy who was arguing for what's his name, Bobby Petrino, not to get fired? You don't think that made sense?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, maybe I was just that kid from wherever. Hey, who produces this show anyway?
I don't know. Let me check. Who's in the booth right now?
I don't know where Coobs went. I think he bowed when Rich got on the phone.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was Kubiak, we can lie to him and tell him Notre Dame has a network and they're hiring.
You know, I'm a little worried about something, Rich. I'm just not feeling the love.
Good one.
I'm not feeling the love between you and Kubiak.
Yeah, well, you got that right, Jack. Mr. Happy himself.
Cubes, are you
the
there?
only guy in the world that produces
Hey, I don't need to hear from this Yankee from Pennsylvania about how he's such a big Alabama fan.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, these Yankees coming down here talking about who needs to hear from these Yankees from Pennsylvania? You know, honestly, Paul, don't we have any real Southern Alabama fans down here that could call in and really give some substance about all this? These Yankees from Pennsylvania just talking about Bama and how great they are. We need something good and Southern down here, like a good call like Larry.
Okay.
A great call like Jim.
Okay, thanks for sharing. So, Jack, how can I make it even worse now that he made it even worse?
I take it back. He did make it worse. You know why? Kubiak
is the worst.
He's the producer of this show, and he ended up sounding like a Finebaum caller.
I kind of feel like if we produce the show to make it as bad as possible,
I just don't need to hear some Yankee from Pennsylvania, some phony Alabama fan who's got no correlation with it, come down here and just start yapping off.
Now, I would like to hear the response. A phony Alabama fan? I don't know about that.
Jack, I'm not going to engage with him. Let him go wake up the echoes. Hey, so how can I make it even worse?
Just keep talking. Just keep talking.
Pick one.
Tell you what. What do they say? What do they say? Starting to get chippy in here.
Yeah, I know. You know, I just checked the bestseller list, and the Mark Kubiak joke book was number one, so that was good. So what do you want me to talk about? How can I make it even worse?
Come on, Rich, keep them coming. You're on a roll here. What else you got?
Go produce something, will you?
Come on, let's go. You Yankee Bama fan? Come on, what do you got?
You want me to talk about Jalen Hurts? You want me to talk about Matt from Gainesville? I got one. How about Heather Dinich's expense account? Can we talk about that?
No, we can't talk about that, Rich. Sorry.
All right. So what do you want to talk about, Jack? How can
I don't know. I'm a fan right now. I'm just listening to the show.
All right. Can I, since I'm so unpopular, can I defend Matt from Gainesville?
Yes.
I think the problem is that he's such a bad communicator that you separate the message from the messenger. Do you kind of understand what I'm saying?
Because I host the show. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, okay. Now you too. Now you want to start with me too?
Hey, we got this phony. I'm sorry, I'm reading Kubiak's
You know what?
script.
When Jack finally gets here, we can get in the car and go up 85 north. We can do that. 85 goes both ways, Jack. So I think
So you're defending Mac, okay, or whatever his name is. What's his name?
I just think he's a bad communicator.
Okay.
I think what he says is correct. And I believe what he said about Jeremy's temperament was absolutely correct. Now, however, that comes, in fairness, that comes from UGA's administration. That's their feeling about it. And you alluded to the blow-ups that he did have, and that is correct.
Oh, yeah.
That's all correct. So what he was saying, but again, because he's perceived as a cartoon, what he says doesn't get the.
No. I mean, there was I mean, Rich. I mean, you're like this. I mean, I give you credit. You'll take any client. You represented Lance from Jasper. Now you're representing Matt.
He's doing great.
My biggest issue with him is that he just won't shut up. So he's hard to talk to.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. However, if you separate them again, the messenger from the message,
his substance today was pretty good. I mean, he was. But listen, I know exactly what happened between Mark Richt and Jeremy Pruitt. I remember talking to I remember talking to Jeremy's agent the same day. I mean, they all thought he was about to get fired, but that has nothing to do with what he's doing in Knoxville right now. Is my point.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right, how about Jalen Hurts? Can I throw a 15-yard penalty on everybody for piling on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because, I mean, trying to add a little bit of balance to this, I certainly understand the shortcomings. I certainly understand what his father said, which did not help the situation. I just think that there's been this massive pile-on this kid, and I think it's pretty unfair. And if a kid is digressing like that, whose responsibility is that?
Well, I mean, it's the kid's responsibility. It's the head coach's responsibility.
There you go. And you made a salient point yesterday when you said that you felt that the kid has gone backwards since Kiffin left. And I believe that, and I think that's fair.
Well, Kiffin told me once that they had a relationship. It was. I mean, Jalen could look over there, and he knew what Kiffin wanted him to do even before he signaled it in. I mean, that was lost, and I think it's been a big loss, but that was a long time ago, though.
Right. But and then the other thing what I think is piling on is,
hold on a second, Mark. Do you have something else to say?
No, not really.
No, I was just saying, let's wrap this carpetbagger up, all right? Come down here and take over, help out all these, take the jobs of all the Southern folk. Don't need that. Yankee from Pennsylvania. Bama Yankee fan up there, Yankee Bama fan. Hey.
All right. Okay, you done? Jack, can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead. Show's off at 7. Thanks. We got to take a break sometime between now and
I figure
30 seconds from now. But go ahead.
I'll be like Phil Ford. I'll dribble out the clock. Or we can have Jimmy call back, one or the other.
Yeah, Rich, the problem is we just can't go any longer because if we don't break now, we're not going to be able to break again. And we have to get those breaks in. Somebody's got to pay for Kubiak's salary. We are up against a break. Man, some vitriol I'm hearing tonight. We'll be right back. I mean, you're a veteran of the show. You've held us up all these years. What's going on tonight?
Hey, good afternoon. I agree with Rich on the comment he made about Kiffin and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts and Kiffin's relationship reminded me of Al Borges and Jason Campbell.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, great
and
athletes.
By the way, when I've always said if Kiffin had stayed one more game, Alabama would have won the national championship.
I believe so too. And like Rich said, that falls at Nick Saban's feet, little Nicholas. You know why I call him Nicholas? Because his ass got more nickels than I got. So he's always little Nicholas. But let's move on. Bill Cosby has had one hell of a day, hasn't he?
Not good.
Not good. And he's an A-lister. And you would think somebody like Bill, if he needed to do all those things, he wouldn't have had to do it the way he apparently did do it. But anyway, let's go to that list that y'all had about drafting or something yesterday. And Darryl got so bent out of shape and you had to explain it to him. It's entertainment. This show has always been entertainment that happened to include sports fans. This show has always been any topic available that the caller directed it to, and it happened to include sports when sports was necessary. Now, I don't know why some of these guys get so bent out of shape when they're not number 1, number 2, number 3 on the list all the time. You would think they would be happy that they take your calls out of all the people in the world trying to get through that can't get through.
And I just find it sickening that guys like Darryl and Jim are always whining and complaining. And, that takes me to Jim. Jim's always talking about how he got hurt, when it's obvious Jim was a quitter even then, because he's quit this program at least 100 times since I called, and it's because Jim is not a team player. He doesn't roll with the punches. He can't foresee the things that are happening. He can't anticipate things because he's too damn slow. And kind of like Darryl. Or the Amiga world getting faster. Paul Finebaum, you have a great afternoon.
Don is in St. Louis. Welcome to the program, Don.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I got a dark horse pick for the SEC East. And I won't blame you for laughing at me because I think 95% of the people in my home state would laugh too. But I think Missouri's got a real chance to rebound this year with a big year in the SEC East, and here's why. SEC's always been called a line of scrimmage league. We got our whole entire offensive line back. Matter of fact, we got 2 backups that have started games in the past. We got 90-some returning starts up there, so that's where it starts with. We got a SEC first-team quarterback returning, 2 outstanding running backs back. Both have been high caliber. 2 really good receivers. All freshmen, SEC freshman, All-American tight end. We got a lot of weapons on offense, which we were decent on offense last year. In the defense, we've got defensive tackles that go literally 3 deep. A couple of guys that most of you probably haven't heard of that could make some noise this year. A young man that you have heard of that's healthy, and hopefully he's going to have a great year, and Terry Beckner Jr. We got our 3 linebackers returning. We got a pretty good punter and a kicker returning. We have some question marks, but I think Missouri's got a chance to make some noise in the East.
I'm not laughing at you. I think what Georgia plays out there, that's a dangerous game. I think there's a number of dangerous games at Missouri this year. I was talking to Vince Dooley the other day about his son, Derek, who's now the offensive coordinator, and he felt pretty good about what he has seen out there. So I think Derek Dooley will add a great deal. I'm not laughing at all. What's a dark horse? Does that mean they have a puncher's chance? It would take a lot for Missouri, I think, to overcome first South Carolina and then Georgia. But I do think they'll have a decent season. Thank you for the call. I do appreciate it. Steve is in Georgia, and you are on the air. Go right ahead, Steve.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
We're doing great, Steve. Thank you.
Hey, great. Been missing Larry from Missouri.
Yeah, we heard from him yesterday, I believe.
Did you? Yeah. Well,
or today.
I just wanted to comment about your callers. The guys that screen the callers, anybody they get from Tennessee, they need to require that they have an interpreter on the line with them.
Really?
Yeah, because I can't understand what they're saying half the time. Especially Lance, that Gator from Tennessee. I don't know what kind of speed he's on, whether he's on heroin or what, but I definitely can't understand him. But anyway, Jim, without a doubt, hands down, is in a league of his own. Nobody can touch him. He's your best call-in man. He's made your show. And,
hey, I hate to run, but we have to anyway. This story's been rumbling all afternoon, but the Detroit News is now reporting that Shea Patterson, who has been attempting to play for the University of Michigan, will be eligible. This, according to the Detroit News, is being reported at this hour. That could certainly impact Michigan's chances. The podcast available on the ESPN app and the Apple Podcasts.